Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their courtroom.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're getting commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican parade service Latin.
That's literally not true.
Oh, for Trump's sake. I didn't ask you to interrupt me.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. All right. We are kicking off day 23 in the Karen Reed case. It's a big one. It's a very big one. Wow. I have to do a couple things before we recognize the internet owner. I'd just like to give a shout out to Nadine, who we're not going to tell everyone you're 86 years old, but that's amazing, by the way. Nadine, today would be your 67th anniversary. I know your husband passed in 2009. Thank you very much, Music My Bestie, for letting us know. Music My Bestie says, can you shout out my mom, Nadine? Today would be our 67th anniversary. Nadine, welcome. Good to have you here. Thank you so much. Music My Bestie, thanks for letting us recognize your amazing mom. Nadine, thanks for being here. You're awesome. Guess who else is awesome? Angelique, first in chat today, wins the internet. Sorry, I was mid intro song. It was like I was about ready to start pushing the buttons, and I realized I had not turned on this camera, and I still haven't turned on this computer. Details. It's okay. They're just crutches, right? It's just like our expert witness, Dr. Welcher. I just lean on the computers. I could do this on my own. It's all in my head, I'm sure. Couldn't, just for the record, I couldn't. Welcome, Angelique. You are... Yeah, we need someone with more experience. You are first in chat. We're sentencing you to internet ownership. We're punishing you for a good deed. Everything IP-related worldwide is now your responsibility. Whew. And now I feel better with that off my shoulders, having given that away, which is just wonderful. All right, let's see. What is this one doing? What's happening there? Oh, nothing. So we can put this right here. There we go.
I think I'm about to catch a whooping.
Let me just say, OnlyFan is spinning as fast as I've ever seen it spin right now. So we'll keep an eye on that. As soon as something happens in the court, we're going to bring it to you. Just had a wonderful breakfast of oatmeal, and it was a proud dad moment. If I can take a minute, my two youngest just discovered one of my joys, and that is technology. They've always been in, they like to play computers and Apple iPads and phones and everything else. They've always loved that, but that's just games, right? I just explained to them that with my GMRS license, they are now licensed as family members. It's a radio license. It's a handheld radio license, a little more powerful than FRS radios. And now they can play with big kid walkie-talkies that can go for miles. And so I just programmed up a couple GMRS radios and let them play, gave them little shoulder lapels, and they're running around just loving it, absolutely loving it. It's so cool. Let's see. Amy, they're just taking it from the Zoom feed, which is a poor quality image. It's not the best, and the court is being very, very protective about who gets access to that Zoom feed. So it's very limited. Mostly, I think Court TV is recording it and then linking it later. Couple YouTubers have gotten in on it, but it's a headache to get synced up. It puts us. It makes everything, it's a pain in the butt, and it doesn't give me a lot. Let's see. How dare you eat oatmeal in the South? It's not allowed. We may have to take your card away if you keep that up. My kids will not touch grits. Not going to happen. All right. Let's see. Let me tell you how today's going to start, first of all. This is the exciting part. Okay, first of all, the fan's going to spin for a while, and then we're probably going to hear ye. When the judge walks in the courtroom, she, right off the bat, is going to listen to a little bit of argument from Mr. Alessi and maybe Mr. Brennan. This argument has to do with the issues we were discussing last night about the witness and the voir dire and whether or not...
I was told counsel wanted to see me at sidebar.
Right. So the sidebars will happen as well. But whether or not they will allow Mr. Alessi to question this witness regarding his use of the medical examiner's report and his use of Mr. Proctor's report. We'll see how that decision goes down, because if Mr. Alessi wins both those arguments, him winning would be he gets allowed to ask questions about it. I think this witness will be a lot less comfortable, and it could be a very different cross-examination than what we've seen thus far, which the witness has pretty much been in control of for most of yesterday. So that's going to be amazing. All right, look at this.
Have them send someone with more experience.
I have a little. Birthdays today. Birthdays today. Mrs. Weatherwatch, Rando from Iowa, Kara Maybe, and Miss Violet, all celebrating their wonderful birthdays with us. So, bro did radio stuff on Outlander set. That's really
Happy
cool.
birthday. You look good.
We're going to sing to Mrs. Weatherwatch, Rando from Iowa, Kara Maybe, and Miss Violet. And super excited to celebrate their birthdays. Mrs. Weatherwatch, Rando from Iowa, Kara Maybe, and Miss... They don't roll off the tongue today for some reason. It's just... there's nothing wrong with having a birthday today. It's just... It's not... It's almost a tongue twister. Let's do this. Let's celebrate the birthdays, because court's going to start in just a minute, and we want to make sure we get the full celebration in. So everyone, stand up wherever you are. Take a deep breath, shoulders back, project your voice to the back of the room, blend your voice to the neighbors. Warm up with me if you will. La 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 la. There we go. Here we go. Everybody with me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mrs. Weatherwatch, Rando from Iowa, Kara Maybe, and Miss Violet. Happy birthday to you. Mrs. Weatherwatch, Rando from Iowa, Kara Maybe, and Miss Violet. Happy day. There are many wonderful days. Today's your special day. I realize there are a million places you could be, a million people you could have been with, but you chose to be here with us. The privilege, the pleasure, the honor, the joy is ours. Hopefully we can turn some of that joy back to you, make your day a little more special, or begin by helping yourself to free pancakes at Denny's, IHOP, Village Inn, Waffle House, McDonald's, Tammy Dunlap's house, Andy's Grill, and Bob Evans, and maybe Cracker Barrel. Wonderful day to celebrate. Today, for your birthday, you may get the prosecution arresting in this case. We could wrap it up and put a bow on it. But do know that today is a half a day in court. I'm not sure which half a day we're going to get. Will we get the full 12 half-a-day hours, or just only 4 of them? I'm not sure. Half a day, one juror has an appointment that cannot be missed, and because of that half a day...
Happy birthday. You look good.
It's probably almost all going to be taken up by this witness, especially if Mr. Alessi gets to go into these areas he wants to go into. Still a lot to go with Mr. Welcher. Yes, I know you guys are mentioning, did you guys see the court clerk yesterday?
My new best friend.
When she finally got a break, and they asked how much longer is this going to go, and she's like, she threw a prayer up at the end, and I think it ended with "Take me now, take me now." I think that's what she said. But the court reporter was had a rough day. Coming up to the end of the birthday song, everybody join with me. We have a drum solo to finish this out. It's easy. You just grab air drum sticks like this, hold them and sit down to your air drum set, and then you just pound the toms and cymbals for the big finish. It goes like this. Beautiful. It's not really a cymbal at the end, is it? Maybe I should add a cymbal crash at the end. Happy birthday. Thank you all. Wonderful. Can we see the court reporter pray, please? Yeah, if I get my computer started, let's get the replay machine going. Let's get this going. Let's go over here. OnlyFans spinning high speed. We've got sound. Load up Karen Reed. Ooh, there's a new version of DaVinci Resolve Studio. Version 20. Version 20. I'll update later. I'm busy today. All right. Let's load up the latest and greatest from yesterday. That was 26. Oops. Hang on, I need to find it. Okay, we ended the day. Why do I not have a clean feed? Hang on, I need to replug in a plug. All right. Knocked a cord out, and okay, now we get the clean feed to you guys, which means we can watch the replay right here. So this is on replay. Let me see if we can find the spot where this happened. And for that, we are going to need the replay keyboard. Best device ever. I love this thing. All right, here we are. Where are we at? He's showing his arm, demonstrating. It's going to be right at the end of the day, right? So let's skip forward to the end of the day. It was right about here, I think. Let's get some sound on here. See if, oh, crap. You don't have sound yet. I will give you sound. Output to media. Okay.
20-minute break and finish.
Fair enough, Your Honor.
Okay.
My answer is if that's the point.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All rise for the court, please.
Oh, it was right before this. Oh, here it is. Okay, I know that sounds garbled, but that's how I listen to things.
Considered that. Correct. Thank you. No questions, Your Honor. I appreciate that opportunity.
So I'm not going to let you argue now. I'll hear you very briefly tomorrow before we stop. But Mr. Lessie, how much longer are you going to be tomorrow?
If I could have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
My best estimate.
This deserves a zoom in. I'm sorry, court reporter. But you do that full right in the middle of the camera. You're a professional. We can look at you a little bit. Let's get it nice and centered. Let's go this a little slower, backwards.
Yes.
What'd she say? Take me now? We'll slow it down, maybe about 75%. Okay, I know what she said now. I'm pretty sure I know what she said now. It was an OMG for sure. You guys already knew that, but all right. She is. I'm not sure if she's upset at Mr. Alessi or if she's just like, this last round of recording testimony has been mind-bogglingly numb, because she has to not only listen to everything once, she also gets to repeat it. So this whole childish back and forth thing has just been absolutely nuts for her. The testimony, I'm not sure if this is the updated version or not, but we do have a presentation slideshow from Dr. Welcher to explain how everything happened. Walk like an Egyptian. We've got all the charts, the images. The Blue Man Group has made an appearance. We have a super big message on a watch. Periodic table of elements are there. This looks great. Red pen, you did a great job. I love the blue paint on the back of the car as well. It looks good. The paint. The paint is so good. There's been, I realize, first of all, this is, court is a serious thing. a serious thing. People's lives are in the balance, and justice is in the balance as well. But even in times that are pretty serious, I think it's healthy to be able to have a little laugh now and then. And some of the memes that have come out recently about this trial have given me a good chuckle. I'm not going to share them all here, but there's some amazing ones out there if you bother to look for them.
You are unmuted.
Now open and maybe seated.
There's a big sigh.
All right, good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. And, all right, Mr. Alessi, I will hear you on your argument on the voir dire. Bless you.
A mouse just exploded. An elephant mouse just sneezed. That was amazing.
Your Honor, I am going to address the Trooper Paul aspect, and then I'm going to address the Dr. Scorti-Bello aspect of Dr. Welcher. With regard to Trooper Paul, I would like to draw the court's attention to the following documents for the straightforward proposition that Dr. Welcher has not only reviewed, he has not only considered, that he has adopted. I went back and looked at the documents, and the basis for this is as follows. Slides 22 and 23 do not just depict Trooper Joseph Paul himself. They show Trooper Paul conducting the CARS analysis on February 1st of 2022. Importantly, these slides highlight the mileage odometer of 12,665, and I respectfully request the court to anchor into that odometer reading, because I'm going to show the path that odometer reading takes through all of the documents, but I want to emphasize the start, the genesis of the odometer reading of 12,665 miles is with Trooper Paul as he conducted the CARS analysis on February 1st. Now, here's where Dr. Welcher comes in. Dr. Welcher then uses this key data point, odometer 12,665, as the basis, the starting point for his determination of the locations and times for the events of January 29 of 2022. Dr. Welcher uses his scenario analysis of Ms. Reed's travels, and that's detailed on slides 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28, to calculate and then deduct 36 miles from the odometer according to Trooper Paul on February 1st of 2022 to arrive at an odometer reading of 12,629, which obviously is different from the start, the anchor I talked about of 12,665. So the assumed odometer of 12,629, again, is based on Trooper Paul's CARS analysis in slides 22 and 23, are then used as a tether, a connection to the events recorded by the VCH and the Lexus on the following slides: 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 35, and 36. I elucidate this and I explicate the slide numbers to show how many there are in Dr. Welcher's report that are rooted in the anchor point and then the change in the deduction of the odometer. So the events memorialized by Trooper Paul on February 1st, including the odometer reading, provide the foundation for Dr. Welcher's entire analysis of the VCH events. The entire analysis of Dr. Welcher's VCH events. That is the adoption aspect of what I started with. 2 more points. In addition, Dr. Welcher testified on his voir dire that the image on the left of slide 36 from his January 30th, 2025 presentation came from a file marked carsj.pol. Now, he did contend that it wasn't the exact same image, but I want to go to this. In fact, the image on slide 36 is from the drone used by Trooper Paul, and the citation for that is page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. That's where the drones are from. Dr. Welcher didn't do any drone activity. He took the drone that he had in his report that was just a little bit different than the one I was showing him. It comes from page 4, item 11 of the CARS report. And I quote, "The crash scene was documented during the on-scene investigation by utilizing Alicia's GNSS GPS mapping system and a DJI Mavic 2 UAS. This data was input to a computer-aided diagram program, which is IMS 360, here's the key, to produce a scale diagram of this collision. So the DJI Mavic is the CARS team drone. This image of Dr. Welcher's slide 36 is clearly and indisputably from the drone. And the only drone extant is the drone of Trooper Paul and the CARS team. Last point with regard to the Trooper Paul basis in adoption of Dr. Welcher. Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Welcher on voir dire if the image from slide 36 actually came from the CERT team, which is simply not true. The CERT team, actually Lieutenant Tully with the CERT team, took about a dozen photos of the taillight in the snow in the dark around 6 p.m. on January 29, 2022. Lieutenant O'Hara said that the CERT team never traveled back to the scene again. So there were very obviously no photos or images taken by the CERT team in the daylight from the drone. And I again refer to slides 22 and slides 23, where Dr. Welcher said it was more likely than not that it was Trooper Paul in those slides, but the point, whether it's Trooper Paul or not, is completely overwhelmed by what I just argued and presented as specific factual basis for a review, a consideration, and an adoption of the work of Trooper Paul. Unless Your Honor has any questions, I would now move on to Dr. Scorti-Bello. Thank you.
The drone's hard to get a hold of right now because the U.S. is not a big fan of DJI. Those drones report back data back to China. I should know. I have them. So they're
Dr.
great drones.
Scorti-Bello will be much shorter. Mr. Woke, do we have the slide of the Dr. Scorti-Bello it's at the end of the slide presentation with her name on it? Oh. You just give the slide number, please. 131. So it is slide 131. I almost know it verbatim, Your Honor, so I will continue. If Ms. Gilman has slide or someone could turn it on. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. So with regard to slide 31, at the very top, and this again is a slide presentation of Dr. Welcher. So up at the very top, and so Dr. Welcher admitted that he not only reviewed the autopsy report, He admitted that he not only considered the autopsy report, he admitted that he adopted it, and I'm going to put adopt in quotes, to the extent that he used it in his slide presentation, and he actually, to show the depth of those three verbs, he's got in orange highlight under final diagnosis, multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and cavallarium. He testified, obviously, about the rear wounds of Mr. O'Keefe. He testified about how he believed those wounds came about, and he cited as corroboration the highlight of multiple skull fractures, base of skull, and cavallarium. It couldn't be any more obvious, his rooting in this document and reliance upon it. Why else would he have it in his slide presentation? And he's got the name of Dr. Scorti-Bello. And frankly, Your Honor, he didn't fight that whatsoever in the questioning of him. Then you go to underneath cause of death, blood impact, injuries of head, and hypothermia. He essentially repeated that on his testimony. And then if we could, Mr. Wilk, just go to the right. And so you've got highlighted head, skull fracture radiating from the right occipital skull and into the right parietal bone, right and left occipital foci, and bilateral anterior foci and orbital plates. Again, the highlighted means something. He's adopting it. And lastly, the depiction of the skull here, I believe that's Dr. Welcher's handwriting. I believe that's his green, the LR, because I've never seen this green highlighting before. And it could also be Dr. Scorti-Bello's. That's another possibility. I'm not sure. But let's assume sort of the most conservative part, that it's Dr. Scorti-Bello's. The key part is he's got it in there and he is referencing it. So, Your Honor, the last point really for both of them, and I wanted to save this point because it applies to both. With regard to experts, the law is clear. So I think the easiest part to show what our position here is the adoption. But it's clearly shown.
Here's his argument.
Adoption doesn't mean you have to agree with it. You just have to put your expert hands around it, wrestle with it, deal with it, and there is no rule of law that I'm aware of that says you can't question an expert witness unless it's something that the expert witness agrees with. If the expert witness has reviewed it and considered it, and especially if they've rejected it. The easiest is obviously reviewed, considered, and adopted. But it's certainly permissible and important to a defendant's constitutional right, Sixth Amendment to cross-examination, if an expert says or even infers, I reject this. I reject what Trooper Paul did, or I reject what Dr. Scorti-Bello did. That is decision-making of an expert that the attorney has a right to be able to test. Why did you reject it? What was your thought process in rejecting it? And that applies to both Trooper Paul and Dr. Scorti-Bello, because as I understand it, this witness, Dr. Welcher, is not, he says, I'm not relying upon Trooper Paul, which is completely false based upon what I just showed. But even if he just rejects it, in addition to what he has done, we have the right to test and get answers as to why he did it. And the same with Dr. Scorti-Bello. Once he goes to this level, Your Honor, I believe it's a straightforward right, especially of a defendant in a criminal trial, and especially of the stakes and the charges this high, that we get to test it. What I think, lastly, my point here, Your Honor, the Commonwealth is doing is this. The Commonwealth knows Trooper Paul and Dr. Scorti-Bello are problematic for their theory and their narrative. Trooper Paul has got, if you work backwards from his key cycles, you end up with 1162.2, their key cycle. That ends up being not in front of 34 Fairview, but it ends up when the Lexus is in the possession of the state. That is the result of that. And that was something that was addressed square head-on in the first proceeding. We're not coming up with some fanciful ghost in the second trial. This was gone through extensively in the first proceeding. And I understand this is a new trial, but it goes to show it's not something coming out of the blue, etc. And with regard to Dr. Scorti-Bello, it was remarkable on the redirect that I've never seen a prosecution essentially go after the opinions and conclusion of their own medical examiner when they basically said, the medical examiner, I can't call this a homicide. The manner of death is undetermined. And the medical examiner says, I don't see any motor vehicle impact injuries. There couldn't be anything more apt, more probative than whether or not the injuries to the decedent are from a motor vehicle. The Dr. Welcher himself is saying they are. That's the essence of his opinion. It's the essence of his test. We get to be able to, respectfully, Your Honor, say, well, wait a minute. You said you looked at the autopsy. You said this. You highlight it. But you're going against the medical examiner on whether there's motor vehicle injuries. The experts can't, Your Honor, cherry pick and choose from documents. They can't use it as a shield and a sword. They can't put up, for example, Dr. Scorti-Bello's autopsy report, cherry pick things to benefit from them, and then and they did it on direct. And then all of a sudden on cross, when we want to go and test that, they say, oh, no, you can't do it. Your Honor, this whole argument is absurd, and it's antithetical to the Sixth Amendment. And even if, and this is my last point, even if this were merely a civil case, this would be routine cross-examination against the expert on the side. So in conclusion, Your Honor, I respectfully request that Ms. Reed and her team be allowed to exercise their constitutional right to cross-examination, the keystone of a defense in a criminal trial, cross-examination, and that they be able to take the shield that the prosecution is trying to put on us and be able to combat the sword that the prosecution has put forward with regard to trying to cherry pick from this information, and that we get to proceed, and we get to proceed undaunted from all the serial objections yesterday that interrupted my cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor.
He's a little mad about that. You might hear a little bit from Brennan. He already gave one, but this was a new argument, basically. Brennan's going to be fired up.
What arises from the litany of complaints by the defense is that there is no constitutional right to usurp the rules of evidence.
Usurp?
There is no case law, as much as they urge the court and yell out the word case law and constitutional right and Sixth Amendment right. There is no case law to support what they are trying to do. It is a simple endeavor that is clouded by all the rhetoric that they offer. And it is clear, and the court knows what they're trying to do. They're trying to pit the inadmissible opinion of a non-testifying witness against a testifying witness. They have asked Dr. Scorti-Bello what her opinion is, and although it's not consistent with our reading of the case law, they were allowed to introduce that it was an undetermined cause of death or mechanism. That evidence is already in front of the jury, but they can't simply repeat it because it sounds good to them or they think it's helpful. Simply because a witness uses a document or looks at it or uses part of an autopsy does not let them regurgitate an opinion that's already in evidence to try to phantom cross-examine an expert. Dr. Welcher is clear. He did not rely on Dr. Scorbello's conclusion that this cause of death was undetermined. In fact, as an aside, he said, I wouldn't, because she's not qualified for that. And so this is a simple game. Let's pit one witness against the other and suggest that the Commonwealth's witnesses are inconsistent. They take it a step further. They want to relive what they think is their past success last year in this case without actually calling the witness. They want the jury to hear their perspective that a past witness had confusion in his analysis, but they don't want to call the witness. They want you to allow them to do that, not just shouting it out and have sustained objections, which has happened this entire case, but they actually want you to be able to allow them
shout it out
to ask Dr. Welch these questions, which he did not rely on. We had a voir dire. He was clear. He did not rely on the analysis of Trooper Paul. He did not rely on that determination or undetermined determination by Dr. Scorbello. It is that simple. They try to throw some fluff out and they throw around some documents. We have slide 22. Simply because there's a suggestion that Trooper Paul might be the hand in the picture is not an anchor, it's not a tether, it's not an adoption, it's no such thing. In fact, if you look at that photograph, it was taken by Zach Clark. So by the rationale of the defense, they should now be able to ask Dr. Welcher any question they want about Zach Clark's opinions, efforts, what Zach Clark did. It is a photograph that he considered, not an opinion, not an analysis. It has nothing whatsoever to do with Dr. Welcher's analysis or opinions. In fact, the evidence is to the contrary. He came out, conducted an independent analysis, did all of the work himself, considered documents, and he was specific about what was part of his opinion and what was not, and this information was not part of his opinion. They turned to the Google map. Bit misleading. This was generated by Google. Two separate people used the same program, but when you look at the CARS report and you look at Dr. Welcher's PowerPoint, it's different. Dr. Welcher's has a map on the side, and when you look at the numbers themselves, the CAR report says minimum 36.1, maximum 38.8. Dr. Welcher's slide, 37.9, 38.1. So in no way did he adopt, anchor, tether, use as any basis. In fact, his is different and separate, as all of his analysis is. And so the portrayal of this necessity of information so they can sneak in inadmissible opinions with no witness is simply improper. There is no case law. There is no legal support for it. They cannot reach back into last year and manipulate a witness and ask him about something that he didn't rely on because it feels good or it sounds good for their case. Dr. Welcher did not rely on Trooper Paul's analysis or reports, and he did not rely on the conclusion of Dr. Scorbello of undetermined. If they want to call Trooper Paul, well, maybe they can try to do that, but Dr. Welch is not the right witness for it. These opinions, to try to do a credibility value, is a core preclusion in criminal law, a core preclusion. You cannot vouch for the credibility of another witness. You cannot comment. It's like asking, did the police officer lie when he said the light was red? It's the absolute same analysis. It just has a lot of icing on it.
Very briefly, bring the jury, start getting the jury ready, please.
Your Honor, with regard to Trooper Paul, Mr. Brennan did not address 80% of the slides that I addressed that showed the basis. When he talked about the picture, making it seem like the picture is the only thing we're relying upon, there's clearly other items. But even the picture, Your Honor, the purpose of the picture is it's got the odometer reading. That's why they took the picture, and that's the tether. So the photo is completely relevant. It's not who's in it. It's the fact that that's the odometer reading they're using. Next point with regard to case law. Mr. Brennan presents none to go against the common sense law that has been there for years. The other thing, Your Honor, is with regard to Mr. Brennan keeps trying to put my arguments into a credibility, like we're trying to attack the credibility of Trooper Paul. He says that we're trying to redo last trial. To the contrary, Your Honor, it's the Commonwealth that brought Trooper Paul into the second trial through Dr. Welcher and Dr. Welcher's reliance on all the work of Trooper Paul. They've brought it in here, and because of that, we get the right to cross-examine it. Last point. This is not about credibility. He keeps saying something that's not happening, that we're going to attack the credibility of Trooper Paul. What we want to do is to say to Dr. Welcher, you have brought up Trooper Paul. You have used his odometer reading. That odometer reading tethers through to Google. It tethers through everything you're doing. It's the foundation. But what you're ignoring, Dr. Welcher, are all the key cycle results that come from that odometer reading that you relied upon. Dr. Welcher himself can't cherry pick, grab things that he needs from Trooper Paul to do his analysis, and then the Commonwealth say, but you can't go after that because it somehow has Trooper Paul's name on it. It's illogical, Your Honor, and it's incorrect under the law. Thank you.
So I disagree with you, Mr. Alessi. I'm not allowing in the line of questioning regarding Trooper Paul, and I'm not allowing the line of questioning regarding Dr. Scordi-Bello.
That is awful.
That's my ruling. Let's bring the jury in. Well, come over here because they're on their way.
That is awful. That is a terrible decision. Like appeal level terrible. Specifically with the mileage. We have a document, we have from Trooper Paul's report, we have a photograph showing the mileage of the car. And then they use that mileage and the report that Trooper Paul ran to get the key cycles and see all the activity of the car and where it was and what it did. And that's how they match up the 3-point turn, the key cycles, the movements. Trooper Paul got it wrong. Dr. Welcher used the same starting point, the same mileage for his report. Wow. I am stunned. I thought there was no way that the judge could deny that argument. Wow. Maybe they need to call Trooper Paul. I don't think they'll be allowed to here. Let's say it's irrelevant, but as of all the decisions that the judge has made, this one seems to be the biggest, where they have allowed the argument that the prosecution has brought in parts of these, and they're not allowing cross-examination on other parts. I agree. I think defense is being sneaky, says Laurie. I don't think it's appealable, Recovery Addict. She would not make a decision that would be appealable. She is not dumb. I'm not saying she's dumb. I'm just saying that I don't think her decision is found. There was no case law cited, obviously, right? That's a big thing. If there was case law, it would be a stronger argument on either side. There was none. Where there is no case law, I think it is ripe for an appellate review. We don't have a previous decision on this. I would say this is stronger for the appeal. What can happen now? Barb, what's going to happen is Mr. Alessi is going to finish his cross-examination of the witness, Dr. Welcher. It's not going to talk about his reliance on Trooper Paul's data or Trooper Paul's analysis. It's not going to talk about Dr. Welcher it's not going to talk about the ME and the conclusion that this was inconclusive as far as the manner of death. So those are out, but we're just going to continue. Dr. Welch will continue, which means I will say from this vantage point, I think he's going to do well for the remainder of his cross-examination. I don't think Mr. Alessi has a big gotcha moment waiting for Dr. Welcher that could turn the tide of how this cross-examination has gone. He's going to do well under cross. He's going to look great under direct. And then we go on at the end of the case.
Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is now open. You may be seated.
Good morning, members. I do appreciate you were waiting. We were doing work in here, but we appreciate your patience. So I do have to ask you those 3 questions. Were you all able to follow the instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? No. Everyone said no or should be. Thank you. Could we have Dr. Welch back in, please? And Mr. Leslie, feel free to go to the podium.
With the computer and any electronics there, so we don't have to address it.
It doesn't look like it's turned on at
Oh,
all.
okay, good. And smartwatches.
And smartwatches. No smartwatches.
This one.
Sir, I'll remind you, you're still under oath.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor.
And Dr. Welch, we're going to ask you to not turn on your computer yet.
Okie
Thank you.
And Your Honor, if I could, smartwatches that are receiving text messages during his direct, if we can make sure that that does not occur.
I get my email. I think all the time.
Okay, or just don't look at your watch.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Bag. Watch is gone.
Morning, Dr. Welcher.
Good morning.
Do you know whether there was glass found on the bumper of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV?
My understanding there was, yes.
Did you reach a conclusion on whether the glass on the bumper came from the drinking glass that you assert Mr. O'Keefe was holding at the time of the alleged impact?
I didn't have an opportunity to inspect the glass, but the glass was broken and there was glass on the bumper. That's all I know.
So you, as you sit here today, you have no basis to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from the glass that you depict as having been held by Mr. O'Keefe at the time of the alleged impact. Is that correct?
Well, you're mixing a couple things.
No, Dr. Welcher,
So
if you can just answer my question. If I need to rephrase it, I will. I'll ask it a different way.
Please.
You have no basis, as you sit here today, to conclude that the glass on the bumper came from a drinking glass connected to Mr. O'Keefe, do you?
Well, we have a picture of a broken glass at the scene. So I wouldn't say we have no basis. We don't necessarily have enough to conclude it's from it, though.
Do you had depictions in your test with Mr. O'Keefe holding a glass, correct?
Correct.
My question is, you have no evidence to show at all other than, and I'm talking evidence, testing information. You're saying you have no evidence that shows that the glass on the bumper is not the same glass as you showed on your slides as being found supposedly at the scene. You have no test evidence that that's the same glass, do you?
So again, the one I have at my testing obviously was not the same glass. We have pictures of a broken bar glass in the snow near where Mr. O'Keefe's body was. We have glass fragments on the rear of the bumper. That's the extent of my knowledge on the correlation between those two.
So do you said you reviewed the reports and testimonies of various Commonwealth representatives, correct? That's in your report.
Correct. In the initial.
In the initial, right, correct. And some of those reports included forensic scientists who work for the Massachusetts State Police, correct?
I believe that's correct.
And you put those in your report as documents that you reviewed, correct?
Correct.
And as you sit here today, it's your testimony, you don't know whether in any of the reports of the Massachusetts State Police there is an answer to the question of whether there's any connection at all between the glass found in the snow in the glass on the bumper?
I recall it being inconclusive.
Oh, so you recall that the testing was inconclusive?
I don't remember what testing they did, but for example, when they put the taillight fragments back together, they were able to deduce that the fragments were from the taillight. I don't think they attempted to do that with the glass.
They did.
Assume that there has been testing of the glass on the bumper, and assume that that testing conclusively determines that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snow.
Okay.
Assume that.
Okay.
How would that affect your analysis?
I'd want to know where the glass came from, but we still have a whole bunch of other elements. So I don't think it would affect the end results.
So would it have any part in your analysis with my assumption that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that's associated with the broken glass that was supposedly found in the snow?
Yes, I mean, we always want to have as much answers or as many answers as possible. So I would want to know if we could figure out where it came from.
And wouldn't the fact, assuming that the test results show there's no connection, meaning the glass on the bumper is different from the glass in the snow, wouldn't that be contrary to your theory of what happened in some way?
It depends on when the glass was actually broken. The glass was in his hand, at least that's the testimonial evidence I have seen. So it depends on whether it's broken from contact with the rear of the vehicle or broken with contact on the ground.
Assume that the glass on the bumper is not the glass that was found in the snowbank. Doesn't that, at least in part, contradict your hypothesis as to whether there was contact by the Lexus with Mr. O'Keefe at 34 Fairview?
So if you recall my slides, nowhere did we discuss that in my slides. So no, it wouldn't contradict it. I would want to know where that glass came from.
But you didn't seek that information, did you, sir, in your analysis to determine where the glass came from?
Well, of course I did. I read the reports about it.
But you sit here and you say you don't know the answer. There's steps you could have taken to get that answer quite easily. Couldn't you have, sir?
Not me. That's a material science expert.
You've been communicating with Lieutenant Tully, haven't you?
Correct.
You couldn't have asked Lieutenant Tully that question?
To my knowledge, he's not a material science expert.
But could he have told you the result of testing on that glass on the bumper and whether it was any way associated with the glass found in the snow? Wouldn't that have been an easy question to ask him? Just, has there been testing, and if so, what's the results?
Yes, but my knowledge from reading the reports was it was inconclusive.
But you didn't read all of the reports, did you, sir?
Apparently not.
Let's turn to another topic, laser scans. Part of your analysis involved conducting laser scans of portions of 1 Meadows Avenue, the house of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Those laser scans were used, at least in part, to answer the question of whether the collision between Miss Reed's SUV and Mr. O'Keefe's Chevy Traverse at 1 Meadows at approximately 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022, caused the right rear taillight of the Lexus to break, correct?
Correct.
And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
You want to get it as accurate as possible.
And the reason why inches matter is because, and we're going to get to this, you try, and you did it in your slide presentation on direct, you tried to see whether the Lexus lined up with the Traverse such that there could be a break of the taillight. That was part of your analysis, correct?
So the main part of the photogrammetry was to determine the speeds and the angles and the degree of overlap on the vehicles. And then we also looked at the damage from the video, or actually it's just where the snow was knocked off, the rear of the Chevy Traverse, and document the height of that.
You said the main part. I don't want to engage in semantics. I want to go to my question of, isn't part of the laser scan analysis to determine whether or not those two vehicles align sufficiently such that the Lexus could brake, the tail light of the Lexus could brake coming into contact with the Chevy Traverse? Wasn't that part of your analysis, at least in part?
Yes.
Okay. And in that analysis, inches literally matter, correct?
It can, depending on which way you're going inches.
So the Ring camera at One Meadows, you're familiar with that Ring camera, right? At
Correct.
One Meadows? That Ring camera at One Meadows was used as part of the laser scan process that you and your firm Aperture performed at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024. Do I have the date correct?
I believe so, but like the videos were not literally used during the laser scans. We took the laser scans, the video, combined them together in a process called photogrammetry.
Okay, let's get this down to the fundamentals. You used, and that was my question, Your Honor, if we could publish the exhibit with regard to the Ring camera.
Sure. What exhibit is it?
I've got my, yeah. Dr. Welcher, you recognize that Ring camera as being at One Meadows. You discussed it, as a matter of fact, on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
Now, that Ring camera was utilized as part of your laser scan process, correct? It was used.
So you're confusing laser scan and photogrammetry. The video, the laser scanners are together used in the photogrammetry. The camera and the laser scans are not used necessarily with each other.
You can't get the video without the camera.
Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work?
Absolutely, the photogrammetry.
I just need to be able to finish my question, sir. Was that Ring camera used for any part of your work at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
Yes.
And it was used for what purpose?
In the photogrammetric process, to establish the position and dimensions of various things in the video. So then we could go back and overlay the vehicles and track the tracks in the snow, as well as look at the damage to the vehicles.
Right. So this was used to, as a basis, not the only one, to establish dimensions of the other work that was done in analysis at One Meadows, correct?
Correct.
You can take that down, Mr. Wolk. You know that the Ring camera at One Meadows, in existence when Aperture did the work on October 2nd, 2024, was different than the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022, the date where you went through to see if those two vehicles align. Is that correct? The cameras are different.
That is correct.
And you know that the cameras are different, and you knew that as part of your analysis, correct?
Correct.
Did you document the differences between the two cameras as part of any work performed at One Meadows?
Yes.
And did you measure any differences there might have been between the location of the new Ring camera from the older one that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
No. What we did is use the current Ring camera in conjunction with the old Ring camera, and with the laser scans, we're able to again, map the points onto the scene. That's why I showed you the report from the photogrammetry software that reported our error.
Sir, my question was just measurement, not your process.
Oh.
Did you measure the difference
I don't believe so.
between where the old camera was and where the new camera was?
No, it was angled slightly more to the right, though.
How would you know that if you were not retained on January 29th of 2022? How would you know where the original angles were?
Because when you look at the first camera, the one on January 22nd, it's here. The new one is slightly over to the right.
That's an eyeball approximation analysis. That's not a measurement, correct?
Well, I don't know that we actually measured it, but we accounted for it and corrected for it. But you can see, for example, what the original one shows, for example, to the left-hand side, compared to what the new one shows to the left-hand side, and it's angled more to the right.
Sir, you have experience with Ring cameras, correct?
I do.
And I think a lot of members of the public have experience with Ring cameras. You can move just the camera portion ever so slightly and change significantly the angle of the camera, can't you, what it captures? Just a small turn.
Potentially.
Right. Even a millimeter turn can make a change. A 2 millimeter, a 1 inch can make a significant change with regard to what the camera captures, correct?
Could, sure.
So, did you measure whether the newer camera that was present on October 2nd, 2024 was installed to the left? And I'm talking measure. To the right, to the top, or the bottom relative to the camera that was there on January 29th of 2022?
So, we solved for the camera position.
I'm asking if you measured, sir.
Oh, no, we didn't measure.
So, let's talk about some other differences with regard to cameras and Ring cameras.
Like lenses.
Different Ring cameras can have different levels of distortion, correct?
Potentially.
Cameras, well, are you saying that all Ring cameras have the same level of distortion?
No, but again, they're mass produced, so you could have some that have the same exact distortion. You could have some that have different.
And you don't know the comparative distortion between what I'm just going to now refer to as the old Ring camera that was there January 29, 2022, and the camera that you saw on October 2024, which I'll refer to the new camera. You don't know the difference in the distortion between those cameras as you sit here today, do you?
So we know enough information that if the distortions had been different, our errors would have been too high. And so the fact that our errors are within acceptable, or what's called an RMS error, we know that the distortions are similar enough to give us accurate measurements.
Sir, that is speculation. That is not data. That is not a measurement. You didn't measure the distortion, sir, did you? If the cameras, you didn't have the old camera to do it.
We didn't, but we had images from the old camera, and then when we get images from the new camera and solve those camera properties and then overlay data from the old images to the new images with the point clouds, if that distortion is too great, we will have too high of errors in our project, which is why I showed the error report from the photogrammetry process to show that we have checked for that and documented that our errors are in acceptable range so that we have confidence in our results.
You do not have information from the manufacturer of Ring. You didn't present it, and you don't have it, as to what is the acceptable level of distortion for the analysis that you did, do you, sir?
The
You have that from Ring.
I don't have it from Ring, but I don't need it from Ring.
So now let's go to, if cameras have different levels of distortion, that would change the analysis in reconciling the difference between their angles. That's a pretty straightforward proposition, sir, wouldn't it?
So it depends on how much difference it is, but we have accounted for that.
With which model of the Ring camera was present at One Meadows on January 29, 2022? Which model?
I don't know. I'd have to go look through the data.
Do you believe you, I'm not going to take up the time to have you look, but do you really believe you've got the model of the Ring camera that was in existence on January 29th of 2022?
I don't know. I need to
You didn't
look
present
through
it
the
in your direct testimony, did you, sir?
I did not.
So do you have the model of the Ring camera that was present at One Meadows on October 2nd, 2024?
No.
So you don't have even the model for either one of them?
Nope, but we have videos from both of them and scans of the scene.
So now let's talk about another aspect of Ring cameras. They have mechanisms, as I was talking about earlier, that allow the user to adjust the camera angle, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether there was a difference in the camera angle between the two cameras?
Yes, as we already discussed, there was a slight difference in the angles.
But you don't have a measurement of that, right, sir?
Correct.
Okay.
But we accounted for it.
So wouldn't a difference in models of Ring cameras be relevant at all to your analysis of trying to reconcile any differences between them?
So if you have video from both of them and you have laser scans with three-dimensional geometry of the scene, you can go in, and it's called a reverse camera analysis, and solve for the distortion properties. The scans give you the real-world dimensions. So once you know the real-world dimensions, you can then go in, you can go in and then solve for the camera lens properties based upon the real-world distortions. So for example, if there's a little bit of bending at the end, the laser scan data will show that, and you can correct for that knowing information about the laser scanner.
I'll ask
the laser scan data.
I'm sorry, I thought you finished, sir. I'm going to ask the question again because it's a narrow question.
I'm with the witness on this one.
Wouldn't knowing the difference in the models be relevant? That's all I'm asking. Wouldn't it be relevant to your analysis of reconciling the differences to them? Wouldn't it be relevant?
No.
So you think the different models are irrelevant to any process you occasioned at one? It's irrelevant.
So the analysis of the video itself is more important than the models?
I'm not asking if it's more important. I'm just asking, would it be relevant?
No, I don't believe it'd be relevant.
Now let's go to another aspect of the cameras. Are key parameters in a camera that the software needs to know focal length?
It is.
Is imaging size something that is an important parameter in a camera?
Yes.
Are sampling characteristics an important parameter in cameras?
Can be.
Is the principal point, you understand that concept, sir? Is that an important parameter in a camera?
Define how you're using principal point.
Sure. A principal point of an image is the point where a camera's direct line of sight, called, as you may know, the optical axis, intersects the image plane. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that the image's mathematical center, the principal point?
More or less, yes.
And for high accuracy photogrammetric work, it's important to know if the lens is mounted centered over the image sensor due to the small manufacturing variances, correct?
Could be important.
And if the principal point is the center of the image. That's relevant. So doesn't that affect the mathematical calculation of the light ray geometry?
It could.
So the variance in manufacturing between cameras is a known issue. Do you agree?
I do.
There's small manufacturing variances that affect one of the key components of the fundamental parameters of the camera, namely the principal point, right?
Correct.
Did you perform the camera calibration of the camera in place in October of 2024?
Yes. So within photogrammetry, we calibrated the photogrammetric analysis to the camera.
did you address the principal point in that calibration? Do you have documentation that you addressed that important factor, the principal point?
So the checking of the RMS error in the software takes into account, sums up all the potential errors in the measurement, which would include that.
Okay. Sir, you know the importance of all of these topics because the output of all the work Aperture did at One Meadows, almost all of it, springs from that camera, correct?
It starts there.
Okay, it starts there. And if the starting point is wrong, then where you go from the starting point is going to be at least potentially wrong, correct?
Potentially.
Would you agree that Ring cameras have a swiveling mechanism so that the user can adjust the camera angle?
Some do.
Do you know whether the camera that was in existence on January 29, 2022 had a swiveling mechanism?
I believe it did.
Believe? Do you know?
I do not know for a fact, but those style of Ring cameras on the surveillance have adjustability that includes angle.
But you don't know whether the camera that was there, the specific camera on January 29, 2022, had a swiveling mechanism or not, correct?
Correct.
And do you know whether the camera that you saw in October of 2024 had a swiveling mechanism on it?
It did.
And where did you document the fact that it had a swiveling mechanism?
I think we have photos of the camera.
Did you document it in writing, and did you document the tolerance of the swiveling mechanism?
No.
Let's go to, and again, all of the camera, this camera that you used is the starting point for your laser scan and photogrammetry process, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's go to another topic. On your direct testimony, as I recall, you stated essentially from various information that you lined up in the video, and we're talking about the lining up of the Lexus with the Traverse. And this is at One Meadows. And so, as I understand what you did, sir, is you took what are called point clouds, 3D images, created them for the Lexus. You took created 3D images, synonym point clouds, of the Traverse, and then you attempted to line them up to determine, among other things, whether they would align sufficient so that the Lexus could line up and potentially hit the Traverse such that the tail light of the Lexus could be broken. Was that at least part of your analysis?
That was part. There was more.
So, you showed a slide, a few slides, and with Your Honor's permission, what I'd like to do is to start with slide 90.
All right. Do you have any problem with Dr. Welch keeping his printed copy that he was using?
I have no problem with the printed copy, Your Honor.
So, I'm sorry, what slide again?
90.
Your Honor, my printed copy is tiny.
You should have printed it bigger.
Yeah.
Your Honor, size matters now.
Does that slide that's part of your presentation depict a view from the top of the Lexus on the right and the Chevy Traverse on the left?
Correct.
And is that depicting contact between the two vehicles?
It is.
Now let's zero in a closer look, and that is a contact point. Am I correct?
Correct. I mean, there's multiple points. There's more than one.
Multiple points, but it shows more clearly the contact between the two vehicles. Now if we could the next And that is number 91, Mr. Wolf. So, Your Honor, 91. I think these are just going to go in order for a few, and I'll keep announcing them. So, this is 91, same vehicles, just a different viewpoint. Is that correct, Dr. Welcher?
Correct. This and the next slide.
I just want to stay with this one. I just asked the question, does it show the contact?
Right. So go ahead and answer now.
This slide and all the other slides, we're trying to show the angle of contact, but because it's two-dimensional image, you're losing some perspective. For example, here you're seeing the chrome piece on Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet, which is on the right. You're seeing it obviously behind where the Lexus is. So we were trying to show it at a whole bunch of different angles to try and illustrate the degree of closeness or lack thereof.
All right. So
thank you.
Is it correct that on your direct examination you said in sum and substance, we looked at the degree of overlap and there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap between the vehicles? Is that what you recall saying on direct?
That is correct.
And that you stated that supposed 2 to 3 millimeters of overlap was insufficient to cause the tail light of the Lexus to contact the rear of the Chevrolet. Do you recall saying that?
That's correct.
Now, I would like you to look at that. This is from your slide presentation. Is that not showing contact between the two vehicles?
Oh, it absolutely is not. What you're seeing is a portion of the vehicle that is behind the area. Keep in mind the angle, the Lexus is angled off to the left. So the area that you see here is actually, in this case, in front of where the taillight is. This is why we tried showing it from a whole bunch of different angles, because when you try and take a two-dimensional image and look at it, you see stuff in the background. So and again, this is why in the computer, we overlaid them, looked at the measurements, in the computer where you don't have this, we have the three-dimensional measurements, and it does not hit.
Where did you show in your slide presentation what you just said, that it doesn't show an overlap?
So
where?
It shows a contact. It definitely contacted, I'm sorry, Mr. Reporter, down below here. It does not show a contact here. So to answer your question, all the next slides were our attempt to do that. So all the next slides is your answer.
We're going to go to those next slides. So just to be clear, you're saying that depiction does not show any contact between the taillight of the Lexus and the Chevy Traverse.
So the upper taillight, just to be clear, because the lower taillight is much closer.
Well, it's not only much closer, it's in contact, isn't it, sir?
It's very close. It's probably within an inch of being in contact.
Oh, so you state that even the lower part of the taillight is not making contact?
So, again, maybe there's a photo we could show or a scan. That is on the rear of the vehicle, and it contacts on the corner, which is just around, so maybe like an inch or so in front of it on the corner.
I'm just going with what you presented in your slide presentation.
Well, let's go to the next slides, and then
Sir, I will determine which slides we go to on my questioning.
I'm just hoping to answer your question.
So now let's go to, Mr. Wolf, the next slide.
There we go.
In your presentation, my question is zeroing in. Are you saying that slide does not show contact between the tail light of Ms. Reed's Lexus and any part of the Chevy Traverse?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what it shows. You can see a little better here. Again, we tried all these different angles, which is why all these slides are in there. But you can see some of the geometry of the light. This structure, and again, remember I said the Chevy kind of curves in as it goes up a little bit?
Let's go to the next slide. 40, yes, please. Is it working? 41, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
One moment, Your Honor.
That's Exhibit 41? No, as a question, because that's not my slides.
Definitely your car. It's got
So,
a Texas
Mr.
plate.
Alessi, is this exhibit number 41, or is this from the PowerPoint? Because,
Slide 41? Slide.
okay.
Yes.
Now it is
So-
a slide.
I'm putting this up because I want to show an actual photograph of that tail light, and I would like you, sir, to focus on the quarter panel tail light in each. Do you see a jutting out of the quarter panel tail light in that photo? Do you see it jut out?
So I don't know if you and I are talking the same thing. There are little fins here.
Correct. Now, what I'd like to do is to go back to the depiction we were just looking at, and that depiction doesn't show the jutting out, does it?
No, it does. Those are actually more on the side of the vehicle. You can't see them in this image.
Correct. You can't see them.
Hold on a second. I wasn't finished. But
Sir.
they are 100% there. We actually did special hand scans with a hand scanner of the taillight to put it back on to the vehicle.
You say they're 100% there, but you can't see it in that depiction, can you? The jutting out that you could see in the two-dimensional one we just saw. You can't see it.
I can't see who's behind that wall because it's being blocked by something. I can't see on the side of the taillight because it's on the side I can't see. It's being blocked.
Sir, my question is simple. You cannot see the jutting out of the taillight in this depiction, can you?
Correct.
Okay, now let's go on to the next question in this topic. You could have easily
Can't even see this
solved
partially
what you
till
consider to be the issues you had with trying to show it lining up. Couldn't you, sir? You had an easy solution for that.
I took the best solution. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
You had 3D images, correct?
You could build a 3D model.
You could have
I said
shown
this yesterday.
and measured 3D images to get almost the exact contact point and almost the exact dimensions if you had just used the 3D images that you had available to you. Isn't that correct?
That's exactly what we did. When I went through
you made it
the video
2D.
analysis, I showed you how we overlaid the point clouds, the 3D scans, on top of each vehicle. So we took the, we took
Sir,
the vehicles.
please don't interrupt.
Hold on.
Your
Hold
Honor,
on.
he keeps referencing my hand and saying I'm doing something when I'm not, and I think that's distracting to the jury.
So-
I'm not interrupting him.
Hold on. Let the witness answer the question.
I'm just holding my hand like this, Your Honor. He keeps saying that I'm doing something.
Mr. Alessi, please.
All right.
Go ahead, finish the answer, Dr. Welch.
Again, in the photogrammetric analysis, I showed the video. I showed how we overlaid the point cloud on top of the video. That proves that the way we solved it, correct camera characteristics, matches. Otherwise, that would be distorted. We overlaid the scans of the Lexus into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid the scans of the scene into the photogrammetric analysis. We overlaid all that stuff into the analysis. We did exactly what you're suggesting.
And then you flattened it to two dimensions.
You could have easily
instead of
addressed
showing a
this
3D
issue
video.
by the following. If you really believe there was no contact or not sufficient contact, you could have produced a graphic that shows a gap between the two vehicles. A graphic, couldn't you? That's not a graphic.
What is that?
Sir, I get to ask the questions, and you are to answer them subject to the judge's ruling. So my question is, couldn't you have created a graphic that would have better shown the issue that you are creating or talking about today? That's my question. Couldn't you have created a graphic?
We did. we created a whole bunch of graphics.
You called what we just saw a graphic?
Yes.
Well, if there's a gap, why isn't there then something that shows a clear gap?
Because when you have the angulation of the vehicles, you have perspective. When you're looking at it, even if you do a top down, you see everything projected onto a single flat plane. So you can't tell the height of things. So when you see things in this dimension, you can't necessarily see depth of things. So you lose in two-dimensional images, you lose one dimension depending on which way you're looking. That's why I showed it from all these different angles to try and show exactly what you're saying. We had graphics to do that.
3D images allow you to show perspectives for 360 degrees, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct.
So, none of what you presented in your slideshow shows the contact points from 360 degrees, does it?
I don't understand your question. Are you asking if I showed it at every single, I went through 360 slides that showed it at every single degree?
Sir, let's move on. I think I've made the point.
So I'm going to strike the comment,
Okay.
Mr. List.
Dr. Welcher, let's go to the next topic. And keep with these two depictions. Are these two images point clouds or 3D images? Are these two?
Those are one and the same thing. They're yes.
I would use them as synonym. Which term of the two do you want to use? Point cloud or 3D images?
Both are fine. It's a 3D image composed of points.
So let's just call them 3D images so we can do this more quickly. The Lexus and the Chevy Traverse that are depicted there are both 3D images of those vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And Aperture created the 3D images, correct?
Correct.
Sir, did you do these scans and did you personally create these images?
No, one of the assistants at Aperture did.
So you're speaking about what somebody else did at Aperture, correct?
They were doing it at my direction, and for example, the Lexus scan, I showed the photographs. You can see the gentleman that works at Aperture, Mike Morelli, was scanning them for me while I was doing the rest of the inspection. And then the hand scanning of the rear tail light was done by another engineer. I was out there with him doing it, taking measurements, and then same thing with the Chevy Traverse.
My question is, you didn't do the creation of these 3D images, did you?
The individual images, no.
All right, so let's go to these individual images. These are 3D images. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Let's look at the tail light.
Okay.
That's not a 3D image. That's a Photoshop, isn't it?
Nope.
Oh, so it's your testimony that that tail light is a 3D image.
That absolutely is a 3D image. The way you can tell is when you get up near the chrome, because lasers don't like shiny objects, you start to get a scatter. So see all these dots here? If that was a photo, you wouldn't have these dots.
Let's go to the Chevy Traverse. Let's, Mr. Woke, zero in on the content. Yeah. There's grain on that tail light, in the tail light. That's a 3D image of a tail light, isn't it, sir?
They're both 3D images.
Well, I just want to stay with one. That tail light is a 3D image, and one of the ways you can tell is because it's got all that grainy material on it, correct?
Correct.
Now let's go back, Mr. Woke, to the Lexus. Let's now go to the bumper.
But do you want me to explain the difference?
No,
okay.
Thank you. I would like to go to the bumper. Do you see any the predominance of any grainy image on the bumper?
There's a little bit. So, for example, when you get near edges, it has a hard time with edges.
I'm sorry, the bumper cover.
Right.
See the bumper cover up above?
This whole thing is the bumper cover. That's the step pad. That's the rear body panel or the rear deck lid.
I'm talking about the step pad, sir? Just the step pad of the bumper?
Are you asking about just from here to here?
Correct. The bumper step
Can we
pad.
zoom in on it?
Pardon me?
Can we zoom in on it?
Sure.
Did.
Do you see any?
Yeah, I see graininess.
Let's go over to...
Right in here. You can see it all through here. You see it through here.
Well, I'm talking about the step pad, not the entire bumper. I'm just talking about the step pad.
Right. So you're zooming in on the bumper.
Right.
The step pad is this structure up here.
We're going to move up. It just takes a while. So your testimony is that is a...
Can you zoom in more?
That's you would like it zoomed in?
Yes, sir.
Sure. Your testimony is that that is a 3D image, not a Photoshopped step bumper cover. Is that correct?
So we have mapped the color over the 3D scans. We used 2 separate scanners. If you recall, when I got out to Miss Reed's vehicle, that taillight was gone. So we had to replace the taillight.
Talking about the bumper cover, not the taillight.
Okay, I'm explaining the process.
I'm just asking about the bumper cover, not the process.
So focus your answer on the bumper.
That is a laser scan.
Okay, so your
That's a 3D
testimony
model.
is the step part of the bumper cover is a 3D image from a laser scan, and it's not a Photoshop. That's your
Absolutely.
testimony. And you didn't perform the work for the 3D that you claim the bumper step up is. You didn't do that work to produce that depiction, did you, sir? Somebody else in your firm did it.
So this is all done at my direction. The engineers that work for me, so I'm telling them what to do. I'm not the one punching the keys.
That's
I'm
my
saying,
question.
I need you to do this, 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 and this. Use the hand scanner, go scan the light. I need to put this back in because it was missing when we got to it. So, no, I'm not punching the keys.
Okay, so...
Okay. Come on over, please.
Okay, a couple things here. I'm not an expert in photogrammetry, but I do have some experience with orthorectification of images. Hang on one second. I do have some experience with orthorectification. It is, in fact, true that you can take images and work backwards, especially if you have known measurements with a laser point scan of the actual item, and you can build it backwards. You can take a photograph that your grandfather took when he was on a tour of Europe, and you can recreate and find just from that image using known measurements exactly the point he was standing when he took the picture to recreate the picture. You can work backwards that way. And so when Mr. Alessi is talking about, you don't know if the camera was turned or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The output of the image is more important. But it is, I do agree with the witness there. Now on this last part, the 3D modeling. Any picture he shows on the screen, any still picture, is a 2-dimensional image. We can portray that in a 3D video. It would require motion to really show it. But he could have built a 3D model, and just like you do with your Amazon app when you're going to buy, I think Genja was saying this in chat, when you're going to buy a couch, and you're on Amazon, you're like, hey, that couch looks cool. I wonder what it looks like in my house. You can click a button, and it will project it on your screen, and you can walk around and look at it from different angles. It is the easiest thing to do, and he has all the technology to do that, and he didn't. Every still image he has shows an overlap. He wasn't able to show a
With
gap
regard to... No, we don't need him back up, Mr. Wolf. Isn't it correct that 3D images allow for proper and most accurate measurements as opposed to 2D images? Is that a correct general statement?
I mean, generally, yeah.
Okay, that's my question. So let's go to the next topic. Let's talk about hydraulics on the Lexus SUV. What type of hydraulic system does the Lexus SUV have?
So it has a mechanism, I believe it's actually pneumatic, it's air-based system that raises it up and down.
Do you know what the name of that system is, sir?
No, not off the top of my head.
Do you know how it works specifically?
I do. Well, I mean, I know generally that there's a button on the interior where you can raise and lower the ride height.
And is that the extent of your knowledge of that system on the Lexus?
No. Again, I know when you park it, it'll drop down the ride height. When you adjust it for different roadway conditions, it'll change the ride height.
Do you know what the height tolerances are? In other words, the lowest to the highest?
I believe it's around 1.25 inches. At one point in time, I measured it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
So you believe it's 1.25 inches up and 1.25 inches down? How do you apply the 1.25 inches?
I recall the total being like 1.25 inches, but I measured it at one point in time. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Would you be surprised to hear that the tolerance is 5 inches on that vehicle?
I would be surprised. I don't recall it being that much, but I would need to double check.
It is.
Assume that the manual, as well as other informations, support that the tolerance is 5 inches and that specifically the vehicle can be raised 3 inches high and it can be lowered 2 inches. That's the basis for the 5. What was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus that you used for your accident reconstruction analysis out front at 34 Fairview between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on January 29, 2022 to determine whether it was possible for the spoiler on the back of the Lexus to make contact with the eye of Mr. O'Keefe? If it was even possible, what did you use for a measurement of the suspension?
Matched the measurements from when the vehicle was tested, I believe on February 1st at the Canton Police Department.
What match did you make?
So we aligned the bottom of the taillight, actually the sheet metal right below the taillight. So we adjusted the height of the Lexus to match that.
Did you in any place document what level the Lexus was at the time of any testing, meaning the suspension? Did you document it all?
Yes.
Where?
Slide 107.
Can we have slide 107, Mr. Wolf?
Good point, Red. Was the car running when you measured it? Or was it at its lowest point?
And then if you could zoom in on the lower photograph, the gentleman with the blue shirt. Zoom in a little more, please. So if I may, we matched the bottom of the sheet metal here to photographs when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Sir, my question is, where did you document whether the suspension was at 0, whether it was +3 or -2? Where did you document that?
Right here.
And what are the numbers of the documentation of that?
I don't know. We were matching the photos. So I don't care what the numbers are. I care that the height is the same.
Okay. So I just heard you say, if I heard correctly, you don't care what the suspension is at. Is that your testimony?
No, I don't care what the suspension number is as long as the heights match.
I understand. I understand. So what was the suspension height of Miss Reed's Lexus at 5:07 a.m. on January 29, 2022 while at One Meadows
with the engine
and
running,
colliding with the Chevy Traverse? What was the suspension height then?
We assumed it was the same as when it was at the Canton Police Department.
Exactly. You assumed, but there's no measurement like was just on that depiction. There was no note that said, okay, we're doing this very important and inches sensitive measurements to see whether the tail light on the Lexus makes contact with the Traverse, but there's no measurement and no documentation of what the suspension height was at One Meadows, correct?
So we took the closest measurement in time to the One Meadows event, which is when it was at the Canton Police Department. That was the best information we had.
Well, that information isn't very good because the vehicle had to go from Canton to One Meadows, and when the vehicle drives, the way the suspension system works, it's automatic. When you go above 20 miles an hour, the suspension comes up, and when you turn off the vehicle, it goes down so you can get out easier. So it would be improper to assume that the suspension at One Meadows would be the same at another location.
That's the only, sorry.
Was there an objection? Yeah. Go ahead and answer, please.
That's the extent of the information we had. We had it when it was at the Canton Police Department. We matched that height.
Sorry, sir. I understand.
But actually, you brought up a good point. It's going so slow when it's backing up that it wouldn't raise up. So the static position when it's backing up would be the static position.
But it wouldn't be going in back up from the Canton Police Department to One Meadows. It wouldn't be going back up when it's going in other locations, sir, right? It would be driving forward. It had to get from point A to point B.
Right, but as you pointed out, when you turn it off, it drops down, and then you turn it on, and then once you go above 20, as you indicated, it goes up. But when she's backing up, she never goes more than a couple miles an hour. So it's going to be at the same position.
But she drove there.
As when you start, which is approximately the same position when it's off at the Canton Police Department a couple days later.
It doesn't drop down every time you come to a stoplight.
Do you know whether the suspension system locks when there is testing of the infotainment system?
Whether the suspensions, I don't know.
Okay. Let's go on to the next topic. You're aware of the vehicle control... Excuse me, Your Honor.
The car starts. She goes over 20 miles an hour driving from the waterfall. It raises to its high position until it stops.
To go back now to
until it
Fairview,
turns off.
34 Fairview. You don't know what the suspension ride height at 34 Fairview was on January 29th of 2022, do you?
Correct.
So therefore, if you don't know what the suspension height was, because of course you weren't there on January 29, 2022. There's no measuring stick, as you say. You assert that you would have accounted for it in your methodology. So you don't have the suspension height for that key day, do you, sir?
I only have it 2 days later.
All right. So when you talk about
every part
key
of the
measurements, such as the spoiler on the top of the Lexus,
or the tail lights,
and the inches that are important as to whether things such as is there a contact with the front eye, you don't have some data that would be relevant to that calculation, the sum data being the suspension height of the Lexus at that time, do you?
So we have some data. We have photos of the vehicle 2 days later. We don't know the exact height outside because, as you alluded to, we don't have a measurement on January 29th of it, but we do have it 2 days later. That's the source of the measurement.
You don't have the suspension height or the setting of the suspension of the Lexus that existed on January 29, 2022, do you?
Correct.
Now let's go on to another topic. Within the 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022, I'm not going to go over them, but you asserted various measurements, height, width, with regard to the Lexus, correct? It wasn't just for the spoiler at the top, correct?
Correct.
And for all those other measurements that you talked about, you did not have the suspension height and the suspension setting of the hydraulic system of the Lexus on January 29th, 2022, did you?
So the hydraulic's only going to affect the vertical dimensions. It doesn't change anything left to right, and it doesn't change anything down the side of the car.
Understood. But for the measurements that are affected by vertical, you didn't have the suspension height of the Lexus system on January 29th, 2022.
Again, I only know what it is 2 days later.
So now let's go on to vehicle control history. Sir, you understand what I mean by vehicle control history of VCH?
This is tech stream information.
Are you aware of what is called the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles?
Of course, we showed it on my slides.
And the Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles is sometimes referred to as the black box?
No, you're mixing up two things. So the Bosch is like the tools.
It's a question, sir.
So can you answer that with a yes or no?
Is the Bosch crash data retrieval system the black box on Lexus vehicles? I just wanted to repeat it so we can.
I didn't hear what the objection. You objected?
I'd like him to be able to finish his answers.
Yeah. So the question was just asked. Can you answer that question?
No, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, next question, Mr. Wilson.
I'm going to ask the question, sir. The Bosch crash data retrieval system in Lexus vehicles, you're familiar with that? Are you familiar?
We've got a lag. Hang on.
Are you familiar?
Court feed dropped. Let's see what we can do here. Just 1 second. Hold, please. My feed's fine. I mean, my connection's fine with the internet, so it's something local. In court. Let's see.
Bosch is the hardware and software to access the black box data. TechStream is the software to access, for example, the pre-collision system, the PCS system, and the VCH, which is the vehicle control history. So TechStream is, which does a lot of other stuff, but does access that information.
You just mentioned Bosch, didn't you, sir?
So Bosch is not in the Lexus. You use Bosch stuff sold by Bosch, Bosch software and hardware, and you walk up to the Lexus with all the Bosch stuff and plug it in and download the event data recorder, the EDR, the black box. That was my problem. There is no Bosch stuff in the Lexus.
I understand, sir. That was going to be the question that I was trying to get to, but you've explained it, so I don't have to answer the question. Let's go to the VCH database that you say the stated purpose is to assist technicians at Lexus in vehicle repair and maintenance.
So I didn't say that was a stated purpose. I'm saying that's what Lexus or Toyota says is a stated purpose. It's being used in litigation all the time. All I know is that's what Lexus and Toyota says, but again, it came about right when we started seeing all the sudden accelerations in the Toyota vehicles.
So my question is the VCH database specific to Toyota and Lexus vehicles?
So it's not a database, it's software.
Is the software specific to Lexus and Toyota, the VCH?
Those particular acronyms are, yes.
Want to move to another topic, and we are almost finished. We have just two more topics, sir. How common were VCH events when Miss Reed owned the Lexus?
In 2022?
do you know the ownership period of Miss Reed with respect to the Lexus? Do you know how long she owned it?
I have that documentation. I do it off the top of my head.
Do you have an approximate?
No. I mean, it was a 2021 vehicle. Our accident's January 29, 2022. But I did get that information.
Do you know how many VCH events were associated with the Lexus of Miss Reed?
I did not count them, no. I have them all.
I
was only focused on the ones around our time period.
Exactly. But do you have the number of events? Do you know how many there were?
I could get it for you.
How long would it take, sir?
3 minutes.
Why don't we come back to it?
Okay.
And we'll see if it's...
How about I start this so that we don't have to wait for it to boot up? And then when we come back to it, it's ready to go. You okay with that?
That's all you're looking at, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. And then pick your head up, please, so I can finish these two topics.
Go ahead.
So, how often were VCH events recorded on the Lexus before January 29th of 2022?
Man, I have to pull this data up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I assume that's going to be in what you're also pulling up.
That's the goal here.
Would the number be about 15? Does that sound right to you?
Let's see. 1, 2.
Oh, someone's going to have to take their shoes off. I'm going to run out of fingers here real quick. I'm watching the reflection in his screen.
There's 18.
18. So there were 8, your records show that there were 18 VCH events recorded on Miss Reed's Lexus, correct?
Before the subject one.
Right. Did you conclude that any of those events, other than the 1162-2, were a collision?
No.
Now let's go to reverse recorded events. Can you tell how many of those 18 events were reverse recorded events? And you know what I mean by reverse recorded events?
Yes.
The vehicle going in reverse? How many of those events were the vehicle going in reverse?
And this is before.
4. Other than...
He asked you, is this before?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would have to pull up the PCS file.
Could you start that and I can continue on with the questioning?
I got to... So the PCS file is I have a second laptop that
Here's what I'm going to do. That's not important for me to keep going and get through it, so let's just stay on the events, okay?
He's like me. I've got another computer I'll have to set up. And maybe another monitor. Does somebody have an extra HDMI cable?
One of all of those events, those 18, are you concluding that there was a collision associated with them, correct? Just one?
No. All those 18 are before. The collision's number 19.
No, I'm saying, I understand what you're saying, but for all the other events that are recorded, you're not, other than the January 29, 1162-2, you're not concluding that any of those were collisions, correct?
I didn't look at them. They were so far mileage away from everything.
But you're not concluding, even though they were so far away and you didn't look at them, you don't conclude from the information you have that any of them were a collision, correct?
Yes.
Sustained.
Let's go to
Didn't look at
5:07 a.m. on January 29th, 2022 at 1 Meadows, the home of Mr. O'Keefe.
Okay.
There was a collision between Ms. Reed's 6,000-pound Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe's approximately 4,500 Chevy Traverse. That's undisputed, correct? They collided. They made contact.
They touched.
Right. But the actual collision at One Meadows did not register the recording of an event on the Lexus VCH system, did it?
Correct. It's too minor.
So, however, you want this jury, sir, to conclude that the glancing blow that you contend occurred at 34 Fairview Road by the same 6,000-pound Lexus in contact with a mere 216-pound man did register an event on the Lexus, correct?
No. The impact didn't register the event. As I pointed out, the trigger was from when the accelerator pedal went to 30%. The tech stream does not register crashes at all. It registers excessive acceleration, excessive steering, excessive braking, things like that, things that would be part of the maintenance system. So the tech stream will never register an event, even if you hit a wall at 100 miles an hour necessarily. It'll cause fault codes and things like that, but that's not what it does. The trigger here was transitioning into reverse and then gunning the accelerator pedal in reverse. And so when it went from 30 up to 74% throttle, once it went over 30 in that transition, that's what triggered the tech stream. It had nothing to do with, and that's why I'm telling you I don't know when in that event the impact occurred, because the tech stream doesn't tell you that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Exactly my point. The tech stream information doesn't tell you when a collision occurs, does it?
Correct.
That's all the questions I have at this time, Your Honor.
All right, why don't we take our morning recess, Charles?
All right. We get a quick break. Mr. Alessi gets a little bit of a win in there. He's done definitely better today than he did all of yesterday with this witness, but the witness is a little bit frustrating. Apparently, they're paying attention to those of us who are catching the looking at your watch thing, and they did get the witness to remove his smartwatch so as to not get text messages or emails on his watch during testimony, like he did yesterday. Also restricted his access to his computer or calculator and every other office utensil and equipment that he brought with him. And we are now through the first round of cross-examination. We definitely have redirect. After that redirect, we may get more cross. I think it'll be limited. Remember, we're on half a day today, just half a day. We might get to the point where the state rests and we get out early. Just depends on Brennan now, and then obviously Alessi next. Josh says, I know this sounds annoying, but Alessi is locking in Welch's answers for when ARCA testifies. I think Alessi made up lots of ground this morning. I think he did a lot better. The big win here is the suspension system. The suspension system, which for those of you who have really nice cars, you know how this works, right? The car is comfortable to ride, and you might adjust the suspension system to be at a certain height so you can see a little better view of the road over the cars in front of you. If you're shorter, you might like it a little lower, a little sportier. Right, so it's a little more precise on the steering, less body roll, things like that. But there's a lot of factors that come into that. But basically, it's adjustable. It's user selectable, and it has a range of from stock position 0. It can go down 2 inches to be lower. That would be sporty, or also ease of access to get in and out. And it can go up 3 inches from that position. So total of 5 inches of variance of where the car would sit in relation to the road. And this guy, this Dr. Welcher, has no idea, and he's admitted on the stand he has no idea what the height of the car was at the time in front of 34 Fairview. He said, "Oh, it wouldn't have changed because it's so slow speed. It wouldn't have." No, the car, once you start it, as soon as you reach 20 miles an hour, That's when it adjusts, and it stays adjusted until you turn the car off. That's when the seat goes back and the car drops down, and it makes it easy to get out. Karen never turned the car off. We're on the same key cycle through the whole thing. It would have stayed the same height from as soon as she pulled out of the waterfall bar and reached 20 miles an hour on the way there. And it would have stayed at whatever height it was, and we don't know what it was. It could be 5 inches higher than what he thought it was. And suddenly 5 inches makes a big difference when you're trying to match up, injuries on the arm. You're trying to match up an injury on the eye with the spoiler on the back of the car. It's a big deal. And Mr. Alessi got him to admit that basically you don't know any of this. So those were big wins. I will say the witness did very well on most of the testimony about the laser scan, about the rectifying the image, video camera image, security camera image to actual measurements. I followed along with all that, and I think he's right. It's a process that's fairly easy to do, and most of us could find tools on the internet that could help us do it without any advanced degree whatsoever. But it does work, and so the math adds up on that front. All right, anything else? 5 inches plus the possible 4 inches from the curb equals almost 9. There are variances that would, make a huge difference for sure. We're trying to skip all the references to size matters in here. Yes, there could have been some tire differences as well. The temperature in the cold. We know that it was warm in the Sally Port because snow was melting, right? It was melting off the car, so the car was warmed up there. If they took measurements there, I think they took measurements of the car after, when it wasn't on the Sally Port at that time. So it would have been out in the yard. At whatever time he took the measurements, September? In the fall? It's going to be a different temperature, different air pressure. The wear on the tires could add up, the brand of the tires, the possible size of the tires. A lot of vehicles nowadays will accept a range of tire sizes, and that could add a small amount to it as well. All right. Wonder who's going to purchase this Lexus after the trial and for how much. Should we put in our bid? RA, you already have spare parts. That's the problem. I know how much these spare parts cost. I cannot afford to maintain a Lexus. I owned an old Mercedes back in the day. An old Mercedes. It was like was it GL? GL? I don't remember the model. It was tiny. It's basically the smallest mini SUV, crossover SUV that Mercedes makes. And I had a headlight that went out. And I thought, I'll just go get a new bulb. And I went to the dealership to get a new bulb. And they're like, oh, yeah, Mercedes bulb. All right. You actually, it's sort of integrated in. So you just change out the whole assembly. Oh, good. How much is an assembly? Well, it's $200. Well, that's a lot, but I need to fix my car. So let's go ahead and order one. They come in pairs, so your headlights match. So it's $400. I'm like, okay, stop. $400 to change a headlight bulb in a Mercedes is too much. And so I took my tools, which involve a hammer and a hacksaw and things like that, and I hacked open the headlight. And I pulled the bulb out and found that it, in fact, does match exactly one of the bulbs that you can buy at AutoZone for about $7. And I bought it and clipped it in and stuck it in, and it works great. And it's perfect. And it matches. It's amazing. Anyway, I can't afford a Mercedes. So BMW's the same way. Everything's expensive. Can't afford the Mercedes. Can't afford a Lexus. The taillight is as far as I can go. Sold the car, yeah. I never told them I had like an aftermarket bulb in there. But it works. Avoided the warranty. I don't buy cars with warranties. Like when they call me on the phone and say, hey, we're trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. My cars don't qualify for extended warranties. That was years ago. That was before the odometer rolled. Most extended warranties end before then. Don't get me started on Volkswagen. Oh, man. My neighbors had Volkswagen Rabbits. Do you remember the Rabbit? It's like it came before the Geo Metro, but that's like the first It's got the front end, the little hatchback. They had like 5 of them, and they'd put like killer stereo systems in them, and they delivered like 500 paper routes. So they'd fill the car with hundreds of papers, and then they'd drive at breakneck speed, chucking them out the window with Van Halen booming, and I'd be sitting in the back covered in newspapers, handing it to the guys in the front as they're throwing left and right. Good times in a Rabbit. Good times. Good little cars. Geo convertible. Oh, like, was that the Geo Storm, Deanie? My sister had a Geo, or my brother had a Geo Storm. White with cheap chrome plates on the side. I think it was manual, too. All right, we've got a lot of noise in court here, so I'm going to mute that. They've got the gain cranked up and it's quiet. All right, Princess Buttercup, get out of my way. Credit card off limits. What did I miss? Nothing, Rebecca. It's been, actually, we've finished up the cross-examination of Dr. Welcher, and it was sort of spicy. It was sort of good. We had Mr. Alessi's probably biggest points that he's made sort of did attack the very foundation of the central crux of Mr. Welcher's testimony about how this injury matched up with John O'Keefe's injuries with the car, and put a lot of that into question with some variables that the witness just couldn't account for. Just said, we don't know. We don't know. I just tried to make everything match. But that was pretty good. We're going to have some redirect here in just a little bit, and I bet Mr. Brennan's going to be pretty wound up about it. Why do they have to buy a new Lexus? Why not use Karen's Lexus? Because that one's in state custody, and they wanted to do some testing, and some of their testing might be destructive, and some of it might be, they wanted to test to see if the answers they got on Karen's Lexus match up with the answers they got on another Lexus, because they're both basically hacking the system on both of them. Lexus, same prices as Toyota, so not expensive. I know you pay a lot for that logo. The Lexus is the luxury part of Toyota. They couldn't paint the missing taillight. Dream car was an old Jetta. Oh, that's an upgrade from a Rabbit for sure. Diesel? Was it a diesel Jetta? I think Volkswagen made a lot of diesels. Ended up with a Jetta, just a newer version of the one I wanted. Incoming Brennan snark. I think there will be some. Wait, did he mean the Welcher's completely done? No, just Cross done. Just Cross is done. We're going to go back on redirect as soon as the break is over. Mr. Brennan's going to try to regain any ground he lost. Specifically, I think he needs to address the height of the vehicle. I think he can effectively do that by saying we have measurements on John O'Keefe's body and everything matches up. So we can determine the height of the vehicle from the injuries on his body. But I'm not sure how effective that will be for the accident reconstruction expert, because it basically just admits that he tried to force the two pieces to fit, and instead of looking at the data and seeing where it took him. DMB second us member for 29 months. OG says the similarities between Aperture Sciences Portal and Aperture LLC Real World are concerning but also humorous. The cake and the CV are a lie. Rabbit was diesel. Yeah, they don't make many small diesel cars anymore, do they? Who makes a small diesel nowadays? Paralegal Liz says, Happy Friday Eve. Paralegal, thanks for reminding me. Today is, not only is it Friday Eve, it's Podcast Thursday. And I just want to let you know that tonight our podcast is starting half an hour later than normal. We've got just a conflicting schedule item that's going to push us a little bit later, so it will start at 8:30 Eastern Time. And the podcast is the Not Relevant Podcast, where we take a break from some of the court stuff we follow to address some funny things in the news, some funny happenings in our own lives, and just shoot the breeze with y'all and have a good time. And let's see, it's only May 29th, so next podcast we give away the memberships, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So join us just an hour tonight. Stay up in the middle of the night if you're in Europe. It's going to be great. Gaily May, man, not DMB OG, but getting there. Are in chat. 25 months. 25 months. Thank you very much. Another OG for sure. Original Goat. over 2 years with the channel. It's just amazing. Okay, DMB and I are OG twinsies, I think. I think you are, Red, for sure. BMW 3 Series has a diesel option. Once again, can't afford the BMW. I wanted one. When I drove down to Florida for the Maya trial, I really, really wanted to rent a BMW. As a matter of fact, that's the option I selected when I booked my car. But then when I got there, I think they had a different version. I don't remember what kind of car I took. Was it a BMW? No, I took an Audi. They gave me an Audi. I wanted the BMW. They gave me an Audi. Nice car still. I have the Christmas Goat Scream. Christmas Goat is the one I'm using. If you don't have a Christmas Goat, they are available online. You can also get the standard goat. Oh, he sounds so sad. I need new batteries for this guy. Listen. He's given his last scream. Oh, man. Valhalla awaits would be disappointed in me. He's gone. He's gone. The goat is done. He sounds hurt. He's screamed at many opportune times, and thank you, goat, for your service. Rest in peace, goat. Yeah, can we get some, what are they, L's in chat for the goat is what we need, I think. Every day is Valhalla's birthday. He scrumped his last scream. I have a goat that sounds the same. Mindy, I think I need to get a new one. I'll go ahead and put that on the shopping cart. I think it's just new batteries. It's just watch batteries and a very tiny screwdriver. That should work. While we're waiting for the break to be over here, Trail TV Live sent me back some of the equipment we sent down to Florida for the Sarah Boone trial, and I had included with it because I wanted to make sure it got to him an Apple AirTag. I didn't realize that when the Apple AirTag left my presence, it would go into panic mode and be like, help, I don't know where I am. Of course, it talks to any iPhone in the area. And so as long as the iPhone comes by, it's like, oh, now I know I'm far away. And it goes into the beep panic mode. So this thing's been beeping and panicking and singing like crazy. Even when he took it back to the post office to mail the equipment back, as they're at the counter, it was going nuts. It's like, it's just a gremlin in the box. Don't worry about it. But now that it's home, it's been very quiet and happy. So, it's probably cheaper for a new goat than to buy the batteries. I think you're right. We might have to retire this goat, hang it by his antlers in the rafters. What do you do with a jersey? You hang it in the rafters. What do you do with an old goat? We'll figure it out. The beeping package didn't set off any alarm bells at the post office. It did not, but I was able to track the package all the way home and see where it missed its deadline and missed the arrival time and everything else. My coworkers love my goat. Do you know what works almost as good if you're in the office? Almost as good as a screaming goat is the monkey. The monkey you can shoot like a slingshot. The screaming monkey. I think it has a cape on it. I'll have to find it. Let me look. Hang on one second. Let's see. Screaming monkey. Howler monkeys, plush toys with sound. Let's see. There's a couple of versions. Flying, screaming, slingshot, novelty monkey. Here it is. This is the one. I'll show you. I should autograph the goat and raffle it off. I have to run that by Amber, who's my my contest person. It's not wanting to paste. Just 1 second. Copy. Okay. I just posted an affiliate link of a screaming monkey. If you do happen to click on that and then buy something on Amazon, I have to tell you by law that Amazon would reward me with a small, almost insignificant financial reward, thanking me for bringing you to their platform and having you buy something. I think one month I made almost $36 from all the refer affiliate links. So if you want to contribute a penny to the channel, that's one way to do it. You just click on that link and then buy your Amazon stuff, and I would make a little bit of money there. Miss Joni Hockey comes in with the super chat. 3D scan of property is bothering. It was done in spring versus a blizzard. Wouldn't the results be off? Did he take all that into consideration? Definitely the snow would have caused a difference in some of the heights. I'm going to say no. I think they have enough. I'm thinking back to the data points. I think they have enough data points on the car that they can measure the size of the car and the orientation of the car, and it would compensate for the height of the snow that it might be lifted up, which is only going to be, I mean, we're talking like a third of an inch, an eighth of an inch maybe at the most, with a small layer of snow backing out. Maybe a little more, but I think the laser scan would be able to compensate for the snow level. The monkey does launch up to 50 feet. This is not good for a quiet office. Like if everyone goes to their cubicles and then works quietly or head down for 8 days, the monkey is too much. This is for days when the boss is away. This is for days, say like if you have one of those mandatory, you have to participate in a run, hide, fight reenactment, like a prep for a active shooter scenario. Screaming Monkey is great. It comes into the fight category of that scenario. I used to participate in these when I was working at the Hill Air Force Base for the Department of Defense, and they say they want to make it as real as possible. So they have the bad dude come into the building carrying a plastic pew-pew version of a weapon. And he's going bang, 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 and you point and you got it. And I'm like, well, let's make it realistic. If it were really to happen, I would use my chair and I would eliminate the threat. They wouldn't let me do that. But Screaming Monkey is the next step. Been there, done that. Says I live right by Hill Air Force Base. Lived there for a long time. Went to work there a lot before I started working fully remote. Let's see. Great last resort, sidearm for Nerf battles. I agree. My green shirt is slightly translucent. I can probably fix it, but I'm feeling sort of half here, half not right now. Let's see. Adjust the key edge a little bit. Is that better? No, I'm here. Hey, bud. This one's charged? Okay, awesome. Take the other battery, put it on the charger. You can do it without a radio in there. And then bring me my fan from upstairs that's clipped on the wall. Thanks, bud. He's so excited because the radio's charged and he gets to go talk again. Screaming Goat is a great way to get my preschoolers' attention. They love it. They work great over a PA system as well. All right. I'm looking sharp. Less translucent now. That's a crisp edge. It's probably one of the best keying I've done just on the fly. Haven't really adjusted any of the foreground, background spill or the flare suppression, let alone the brightness and contrast and everything else. All right. Severe weather in southern Alabama, and now my Wi-Fi is out. I hope I don't miss anything today. Amber, today is a big day. We may have the prosecution rest before we go home for our half a day. I believe if they do rest, it will be the end of the day. I don't think we're going to call, the first witness for the defense and we get like 2 minutes into their testimony and then they go home for the day. Are you joining Trial TV Live for the 1-year anniversary on Saturday? I am, Josh. I am. We had to adjust the schedule a little bit because I also have one of my sons graduating from high school that day. But we did arrange that on Monday. So we'll be joining them. As long as I don't forget. Somebody remind me. Let's Thunderstorms today here in Oklahoma. I'm tired of the rain, even though it's sure helping my veggies grow. Sherry, I heard while I was in Tennessee that this is the 8th wettest springtime on record for the area. So we got all the rain when we were in there this last weekend. Is there court on Friday? I believe there is. Yes. Congrats to y'all and your son. Corey, thank you very much. He's doing really well in college. He's just graduating from high school, but he's been in college for a year now. Concurrent enrollment stuff. I missed Amber's comment, apparently. I miss them a lot. I have them auto-hide. Let's see. I felt the disturbance of the force, meaning Recovery Addict needs me for something. What did I get voluntold to do? We're talking about possibly finding a way to rehome the original Screaming Goat from the channel. This is the first I ever got. I got it right after the yodeling pickle, and it needs to be rehomed, sent somewhere where it can be cared for, possibly recharged, or have the batteries replaced, because this one just doesn't have. It's dying, is what it is. He's a little long in the beard. All right. We need an RA drama llama. I got in trouble for flinging my screaming monkey at work. I have to admit, I've been told that that's not appropriate. I think it was the same day I was told I can no longer fly my my remote control helicopter in the building. There was a time when we had a lot of fun in the building where I worked. It was a great job. Honestly, it's a great job. We have a couple of my coworkers who still follow the channel today and might pop into the chat. Still work basically for the same company or the same department as they did before. But there were remote control cars. I had a remote control helicopter, and the flying monkeys, things like that. It was good fun. All right. Half a day donation asking for a full fingerprint on the like button, please, says Christine E. Thank you, Christine. Thank you very much for your donation for the half a day. I think the jury may be confused by now. Linda, I was following with Sue O'Connor on online. She's been doing a great job watching the jury throughout this trial. And even times when we have been like really frustrated with what's going on, they've been quite attentive. Sometimes even sitting at the edge of their chair, taking notes, a lot of them. They have not been bored. They have not been bored when we've been bored. We're back.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brandon.
You were asked some questions.
Actually, it's morning, but yes.
You were asked some questions about the ring video from Meadows, which was John O'Keefe's home. And you were asked whether you're aware if the cameras had changed over time.
Correct.
The fact that the camera was replaced, does that any way affect your opinion to a reasonable degree of engineering certainty about your conclusions relative to that touching between the cars?
Absolutely not. It would have shown up as increased error when we overlaid the point clouds onto the photos or the point clouds onto the video. If it was an error, it would have showed an error.
Do you have any concern whatsoever that any of the information from the scan is in any way tainted, compromised, or inadequate?
That would be very hard to do. You literally press a button and stand there and watch it, and the laser does its thing. So I have absolutely no reason to disbelieve it. Additionally, again, if it was messed up, once you laid it over on top of the photograph, it would show the difference. So no, the data's fine.
Is there any evidence whatsoever that you've seen that any parts of your presentation were photoshopped?
No.
You were asked questions about the suspension of the motor vehicle of the defendant's Lexus. Do you have any information that the suspension at any point was changed?
No.
Yesterday you were asked a number of questions about formulas. You took out your calculator and you were asked about different variables. Were those variables hypotheticals or were they related to this specific case?
So they seemed hypothetical. Again, you have to be careful when you're talking about failure forces on biomechanical things. For example, if you impact the hand with a, say, 1-inch narrow metal bar, that's a lot different than if you have a broad, say, plastic taillight or a rear body panel. So when you have distributed loads, you can take much more. I told you guys about sitting on the bed, like how much you sink in. That's an example of spreading your load out. When you spread the load out, you don't sink in as much. So same thing with, forces on your body. If you take this pencil, I don't have to press very hard for it to pull in. But if I spread it out, I have to press much harder. So you have to look at the distribution of the load when you're talking about the failure. So when you look at the failure loads, it depends on what you're doing it with. If I hit you with a 5-pound 2x4 or a 5-pound pillow, they're both 5 pounds, but you'd much rather get hit by the pillow than the 2x4.
When you ask questions about communications, when you would have communications with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use encrypted apps to secretly hide your communications? Apps like Signal?
No, I don't have any of those.
So the form of the question, ask it differently.
When you were communicating with members of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, did you ever use encrypted apps like Signal to communicate?
Objection, scope, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
No, I don't even know what that is.
Would you ever use an encrypted app so those communications couldn't be tracked?
No.
Would you ever have any reason as a professional for doing that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You were asked about confirmation bias. You remember those questions?
I do.
Could I have slide 33 of your PowerPoint, please?
I'm sorry, what number?
Slide 33.
Give me a second.
We get to see everything. It's like a speed run through his PowerPoint.
33.
You could zoom that in, please. A little larger so we can see it.
We still have 7,000 words on there. Can you limit it to a few hundred?
I cannot do it with one monitor.
You can't do it any closer than that?
No. Not since I took down. Oh, hold on. Oh, here we go. Which part do you want me to zoom in?
Miss Gilman can zoom in for you.
Sorry? Which part?
Miss Gilman's going to do it for you.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
So you can close your laptop now. We don't need you anymore.
If you could zoom in, please. Okay. On shift position signal, going forward, then neutral and reverse. Does that data suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's strictly electronic data.
When we look over at the vehicle's speed, can we go to the left a little bit? Down. Vehicle speed ending at 2361 miles per hour. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, again, these are direct readings from the vehicle. Again, that speed on this here, you have to correct for the slippage, which I do later on in the slide, but that is a direct reading from what the speedometer is seeing.
Acceleration at the end of that 10-second window, 74%. Does that suffer from confirmation bias?
No, that's a direct reading of a sensor. That's objective information.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Wow.
He says, wow.
Anything, Mr. Lessie?
Wow, I was expecting more.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welcher, you were just asked questions about slide 33, which is the slide about text stream data. You acknowledge that text stream data, what you have called a trigger, like was on that slide, does not tell you if a collision even occurred, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the topic of confirmation bias, that you were just asked about and slide 33. Am I correct that all of the questions that Attorney Brennan just asked you were about data on that slide, correct? All that's on that slide is data, correct?
How do you ask me more questions than just this slide?
But were the questions just about data?
On this slide, it was just about data.
Correct. But confirmation bias is really aimed at opinions and conclusions and alternative hypotheses. Isn't that what confirmation bias gets at?
So, generally, yes. Again, I started this case with the hypothesis.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
With the hypothesis that the Lexus didn't contact Mr. O'Keefe. And so I start what's called the null hypothesis, that this didn't happen. And then I look at evidence to either include or exclude the null hypothesis. So theoretically, my confirmational bias starts with a bias that it didn't happen.
Can you point to one document that shows that you analyzed whether there was no contact between the Lexus and Mr. O'Keefe? Can you point to one document? Was there one document on your slide presentation, for example, that analyzed the null hypothesis, as you call it, there being no contact at all? Was there any slide in your direct testimony?
So remember what I said. We start with hypothesis, we get more data, we whittle down our hypothesis to the final answer. I mean, I had 130 slides. I suspect I bored some of these people to death already. So I didn't include everything. There's thousands of photographs in here. There was a bunch of testing I did with the Lexus about backing, pedestrian detection, that, you know, removed certain hypotheses. So if I was able to eliminate a hypothesis, I didn't present it here.
Sir, my question is not about your...
All the slides show that, to answer your question.
Sir, my question is there any slide that says alternative hypothesis to whatever the label is, whatever the term, that says no contact between the Lexus vehicle and Mr. O'Keefe? Is there any document that you presented to the jury that shows that?
Any document where those words are written on it? No.
And to work through hypotheses, different ones, and to see whether there's confirmation bias, have you heard of scientists refer that as showing your math, so to speak, in working through hypotheses, documenting each hypothesis and how and why you rejected them? Have you heard of that term in the scientific world, show your math with confirmation biases and alternative hypotheses? Just a question. Have you heard the idiom, the phrase, show your math?
Your question is, have I ever heard show your math, period?
Associated with the application of various hypotheses to avoid confirmation bias. Have you heard of that term used in that conjunction?
Not really in that context. It's probably, I understand where you're going with it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
No further questions.
Dr. Welcher, you are all set.
Oh my God, thank you. Give me a minute to pack up and I will be out of here.
You need to stop billing as well. The Commonwealth's going to have to raise taxes here if we sit there much longer.
Thank you.
Excuse me? Yes, you can put your
All right, 11:20.
Thank you.
Is this our half a day? Prosecution rests. I want to see Mr. Brennan, see what he's doing. Mr. Lally says, "You did well, young Padawan. You did well." can read his lips. He says something. We proved it 6 ways till Sunday. Brandon says, but did I miss anything?
I'll do this out there. Yeah, step down.
Yes, you can. Thank
Pleasure
you very
to meet
much.
you.
Apparently he's got a connection there with the court reporter.
Mr.
More than
Brennan?
just the HDMI. Oh, we got another video. Another video.
Commonwealth moves to introduce and play clip 26.
This must be the worst one.
So, I thought, could I have run him over? Did he try to get me as I was leaving and I didn't know it? I mean, I've always got the music blasting. It's snowing. I got the wipers going, the heater blasting. Did he come and hit the back of my car and I hit him in the knee and he's drunk and passed out and asphyxiated or something? And then when I hired David Yannetti, I asked him those questions the night of January 29th. Like, David, what if, I don't know, what if I ran his foot over? Or what if I clipped him in the knee and he passed out or went to care for himself and he threw up or passed out? And David said, yeah, then you have some element of culpability.
Exhibit 207.
Lots of what ifs on that one.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth rests.
There it is. Boom.
Does counsel want to see me?
Sidebar? Yes.
We do, Your Honor.
Okay.
We'd
So
like to
should we
make a
send the
motion.
jury out or should?
Well, yes.
So, jurors, so everybody can sit. So, jurors, the Commonwealth rests. That means that the Commonwealth's case has been presented to you for your consideration. So, I need to meet with the lawyers for a few minutes, so we're going to send you back out. I can tell you that it now appears that we're at least on schedule, if not a little ahead of schedule. So, we'll send you back out for a short recess.
Rise to the jurors.
Okay, the jurors go out. There's going to be some motions that should be filed about right now.
Can counsel come to sidebar, please?
There may be some argument in open court after the sidebar, but there needs to be some motion filed. We've got a judgment of acquittal, which comes in right now, which is done outside the presence of the jury. And so that's probably going to be argued probably very passionately by both sides, with one side saying they've done nothing to show there's a collision, and the other side saying we've proved this. We've got all the evidence says there's a collision. So directed verdict, JOA. I don't know what their terminology is here in Massachusetts, but that's coming up next. It will be denied. It will, and it's right to deny it because in the light most favorable to the prosecution, which is the light the judge has to use when making this analysis, there is evidence a jury member could use to reach the conclusion, even if it's just circumstantial, that this happened. Because of that, it's right for this to go to the jury. But it does preserve everything for the appeal and all that. But everybody except for Mr. Wolf or Wolk, I don't know if it's Wolk or Wolf, up there at the judge sidebar for a little discussion really quickly. Who's banging their head on their desk? That's my kids. They're attaching the plumbing fixtures as we're hanging the gypsum board, not drywall, gypsum board, because drywall in a bathroom will get wet or humidity will cause it to rot. Gypsum board is what you use back in there. Much more expensive, unfortunately. But they're hanging that right now and doing a little hammering. Selena K., how many times have you seen a directed verdict granted? I think we only saw it once or twice. Don't remember the case. But it sure surprised us when it happened, and it was a smaller case. But the mod's out of the cellar. Who said that? Alyssa's case. Alyssa Turney. RA is using child labor. Yes, they're my children. Unfortunately, they are my adult children. They're both over the age of 18. So they're consenting adults. And I continue to feed them and house them. I think it's fair. Gets a little love, does a lot of work and under a lot of pressure. The tech guy is, he comes in clinch many a time. Needs to work every time. Are they making minimum wage at their jobs? No, they make more than that. One of them is a coach at a fitness center. And the other is going to build a robot that will, get us to space, I think. I need room and food. Where do we apply? Says Laura Fry. Unfortunately, this house is not big enough for guests. We have the Airbnb, but it is all booked up with nurses, unfortunately. Next one comes in 2 days. How many boys and girls do you have? We have a basketball team and a cheerleader. One of the cheerleaders is a boy. One of the basketball players is a girl. But so 5 boys, 1 girl. All right, they say they're done hammering right now. AWOL podcast member for 14 months says it really should say 18 months, but I took a breather for a few before I got permanently banned. Love being here. Shout out to my chat friends. AWOL, love it. Most of our OGs have had a day in timeout at least. And I love it. There are cases that some hit a little closer to home for us than others. Some, we have some really strong feelings about. And occasionally, I think even I deserve a timeout or two, so as the mods will tell you. But it's all good. It's all good. There's nobody I time out who I harbor any hard feelings against. The videos would be bad for Karen, says Special K, if this will work. Except evidence didn't show she ran over his foot or hit his knee. Yeah, it was a big what if. She was asking a hypothetical question to her attorney, and then she talked about it to the news reporter, which was a terrible idea in my mind. But can any of them explain the text stream data? I bet one of my kids could. The fun thing is my older child who does the programming, we're actively working right now. I actually purchased a NVIDIA Jetson Nano, which it's like a mini computer. Think of like a Raspberry Pi, but it instead of running off a CPU, it runs off a graphics processor. It's designed specifically for graphic-related processing. And so we've got camera set up. He's doing image recognition with camera feeds and calculating the speed of vehicles from a camera image that's looking out on the street. So I can basically see who's speeding by my house, what their license plate numbers are, and when they went by, and take a photo picture of it. It's all legal, I promise. But he loves that camera stuff, and that's why I'm telling you that I've got a little experience in taking an image from a camera and adjusting it and measuring, finding the points and finding the actual size and distances to be able to put things together with math and say this did or didn't happen, and it happened in this way. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's basically my own little radar system based on a video camera instead of a radar sensor, because I can't mount a radar out by the street because I don't own the pole. Otherwise, I would. Peter Ware says, somehow I've avoided the timeout hammer. Yes, a lot of you have been timed out by accident, especially when it gets busy. And chat's scrolling fast. We try to grab a troll, and we accidentally grab an OG instead. Thanks for your patience with our mods, who are doing the absolute best they can with very little skills or instruction. And high skills, very little instruction, no training. Cindy J says, I no longer think Murder 2. They didn't show she went to 34 again before going to JM. I think it's possible. I think it's possible that, well, if it weren't for Judge Beverly Cannoni, okay, if it weren't for the ruling she made earlier today, which I thought was terrible, and a couple other preceding rulings, which I also thought were terrible, I would say that if something was going to get thrown out with a judgment of acquittal motion, it would be murder 2. I could see that one going. That where's the intent? Where did you prove the intent? Right? That she deliberately did this. I have to look at the Massachusetts law as to the elements of the charge, but I think there's something missing to get all the way to murder 2. Manslaughter has a much lower threshold. It can be accidental. You can get to manslaughter, and that's, I think, a much more obvious charge. I do think it's overcharged for sure. All right. I'm a software engineer by trade, and my side thing I enjoy programming is rockets at the moment. Been there, done that. Had some buddies. Got some buddies that do that. Just the name Ellis Wood ring a bell? Because he launches rockets out there in the west desert of Utah, or he goes out and watches them launch. I can't remember if he builds them or not, but a buddy that's very interested in the rocket launches out there. I missed your milestone chat. Goodman Law Firm Nicole says, OG, a member of the jury. Nicole, thank you very much. One of my standby counsel. I've called you actually for legal advice. I appreciate that. Nicole Goodman, wonderful content creator who one day will have a lot more content on the interwebs. But Nicole is also going to be we're going to hear a lot from her, especially around the Brian Kohberger case, because she's right there. She's going to be right up there. It's going to be amazing. So good stuff there. Kiwi Chick, New Zealand, way more than 8 months for me. 3:30 a.m. here, and no better place to be. Thanks for staying up late, Kiwi Chick. I'm sorry. Here you are in the beginning of winter in the dark, watching this. Stay warm, and thanks for being here. Adam says, I'm content with the level of content on my channel. Adam, you need more as well. We need you to deliver a little bit more. You've got more that we deserve and want. Tisha, a little update about the banana bread we talked about yesterday. It turned out great yesterday. Did you bag the bananas for a little bit and see if they'd ripen quickly? Okay. See, I'd be willing to bet for the jury you're sick of this witness. Dragonfly, I think the jury does get tired of witnesses that seem to drag on a questioning more than needful. And one thing Mr. Welcher did, let me get his name off the screen. We don't need that anymore. One thing Mr. Welcher did was make the question and answer exchange be a little more painful than needed, where a question was asked and the terminology was a tiny bit different, but it didn't really change the question, and everyone knows what he's actually asking. Instead of just answering the question and clarifying with the answer, he would challenge it and make it an additional back and forth, and it made him look like he had a dog in the fight, honestly. Let's see. Do I need a live view if my SUV has Wi-Fi to stream live? We'll need to send you. I've got the live view here, so. Here's the thing. I don't know what live view you have, but as I throw everything on the floor, sorry. When we say live view, to get a signal out of the courtroom and back to our studio, we use a cool piece of hardware that looks like this, right? It is made by LiveView. This is the LiveView Solo Pro. It has a nifty little screen on it. There we go. A nifty little screen on it. We can turn it on and connect to the the interwebs, and we program in, or we connect in a feed from a camera, right over here. And we can take any camera feed and feed it directly into our live stream. So this is how we oftentimes get video from court or somewhere remotely. And this connects to 4 different cellular modems at the same time. And those cellular modems can connect to AT&T, Singular, and any carrier. It doesn't matter. It will connect to any carrier that's out there. And the best signal that exists, it will use it. I buy the license so I can use all the carriers with unlimited data. It's a bit spendy, but it works really, really well. Anyway, so it uses those 4 modems and it bonds all those signals together. And then it's like having 4 different cell phone data connections to send a video over. So we might have to send that out to you with Nicole to make that possible. It's a bit spendy. It's about it's like $450 to $550 a month just for the data, just for the connection. But it's the only way to go. You have the same one? Awesome. With 4 modems or 2? Yeah, best way to go. Are we done for the day? No, we're waiting. We're waiting for a couple things. The jury might actually be done for the day. The jury doesn't know it yet. They're in the waiting room. But at sidebar here, I don't think it's the right place for a motion of judgment of acquittal. I think that should be on the record. But they might be talking about scheduling now that it is the defense's case. How does this look going forward? Who are you going to call? Who we're going to do first? You have to tell the prosecution a little bit. You've got to give them some heads up about what's coming. Who do you think the defense calls first? Please let it be Michael Proctor. Please, please, please. Could be ARCA. Just to have the comparison for Aperture and ARCA back to back. How many more weeks do we have of this trial? Well, this was going to be, up to an 8-week trial? And we're on day 22. We've taken a couple days off, so that we're basically past the halfway mark. Please be a free day tomorrow. I'll be in Washington on vacation. What a different trial than last trial. Yogi, I like that. I like that it's a different trial. Josh, did you read my other comment? Says Josh. I was fighting with the catfish, so I had to put down the phone for a few minutes. Josh is out modding and fishing at the same time. We know you're super talented because you've also been moderating the channel while you were on vacation in Italy, which is just the demonstrates the lengths the mods go to make things work around here. AWOL Podcast member for 14 months. Thank you very much. We got Nicole Goodman, a member for 27 months. Oh, gee. Camila Juanilla Gonzalez, member for 8 months. Love it here. Wish I'd met you guys long before. You're here now. That's all that matters. And, of course, Kiwi Chick, New Zealand, member for 8 months. Thank you very much. Selena K, thanks for the super chat. We also got one from Christine E, talking about the half day for the donation. Thank you. Miss Joni Hockey comes in earlier with talking about the 3D scan of property is bothering. It was done in spring versus blizzard. Would the results be off? Did he take all that into consideration? No. Out and About with Diane, another OG. This witness makes me want a goat. You can get your own goat on Amazon. We have a link for you if you need it. Gailey May, member for 25 months, another OG. Man, not dumb OG, but getting there. Not DMB OG, but getting there. DMB, of course, coming in with 29 months. Basically, the first day we offered memberships, DMB was one of the first to sign up. Paralegal Liz, also member for 4 months. Happy Friday Eve. Let's see, we got Barb Russell, welcome to the gallery. Jackie C, welcome to the gallery. Kelly DD gifted a membership. Thank you for your generosity, Kelly. Britt Bottoms, member for 16 months. Apparently not. Apparently not. I don't think those remarks from Alessi landed as well as See, like Mr. Jackson has been able to land those little remarks. I think Mr. Alessi tried to use that style, and it just didn't hit right. But A for effort. Josh H. says, I know all this sounds annoying, but Alessi is locking in Welcher's answers for when ARCA testifies. And bite me, Rebecca is here saying, who's been using my credit card? It was Buttercup. Slothly Power gifted a membership earlier this morning. Also told us that her hubby bought her a Kindle Scribe for all my timestamp and trial notes. Thank you. If it works well, let me know. And can it tie in? Does it have like an HDMI output? I do need some sort of tablet. I've been thinking about getting a telestrator like they have in sports where I can draw on the screen. It's a little tricky to set up, especially with an Apple, but let me know. Selena K gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Selena. You've been very generous today. I hope your recovery is coming along nicely. Please keep us in the loop on that one. Pray for your dad, Britta Aller. Britta, thank you once again also for keeping us in the loop on what's happening with your dad. Thank you. 1776 daughter, welcome to the gallery. Love that green courthouse as well. Londa Valentine, member for 1 month. Good morning. Good morning to you. Kelly H. also kicked it off with a membership first thing this morning. Thank you. All right. Another gadget. Who guessed? Purple coconut. I've got a couple. I also got back from Trout TV Live. I got my original Hyperdeck that I sent them. This is a device that you plug the news feed into. So if we were going to court where someone else was the pool camera, say like Court TV's there for pool and they have their own person. Court TV gives you a connector and you connect your cable to the back of this, and then you just hit the record button. It records on SD cards everything from trial. And so what I'd often do is I would take this, like what I did for Corey Richens. We take this, record through SD, and then also take the output and feed that through the live view. So we'd have a live stream going with Corey Richens out of Utah, but I'd also have a hard copy saved on the memory in case for some reason the live stream went down or power went out on the cell tower or something like that. It's always good to have a backup. T. Renee S., member for 6 months, says, thanks for my time here. The best for sharing. My opinion matters. Thank you. Been around for 2 years. That makes you an OG.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Let's listen carefully. See what's happening here. Everyone's getting settled in. Do we bring the jury? Or do we get the judgment of acquittal argument? Brennan and Alessi are passing notes. Brennan folds it in his pocket, says, I'll save this one for later. Folds it very small. He's going to keep that one right in his suit pocket. Sherry Smith hits the OG mark, 20 months. I've been lurking quite a bit lately. Always been here, though. Sherry, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to the gallery. How big of an SD card to record a trial day? It depends on the format you record. I have 2 styles. This is the mini, which only does, it's called H.264. So it records 1080p. I also have the 4K version of this. 4K can eat through data really quickly, but I think I have, one sec, let me check. I think there are 128 gig cards that can record a couple days, like 2 days in 1080p. And most courts, like this one, I think we only get in 720p. That's why my picture is more clear and crisp than the court image. Just happens to be what they share. It depends on the judge's ruling. Some courts stipulate what the pool camera resolution has to be. Like they have to provide a 1080p resolution to all pool outlets. Others, you'll see 720 shared with everybody else, but the pool cameraman gets it in 1080, so their feed's a little better than everyone else's. It's fun. Did my feed freeze? Not right now. That was previously. The recorders we use have 2 slots. So you put 2 memory cards in, and it automatically just transfers from one to the other. So you can constantly hot swap them and just keep recording forever, and it will just record back and forth and fill them up. So I can record for like 2 weeks or so with just the memory cards I have before they're all full. Plus we have a NAS storage for another 4 terabytes.
Court is in session. Please be seated.
All right, so jurors, we all, it happens several times a day, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot. That's number 207.
So we don't want to waste anybody's time. I know we've spent a lot of time at sidebar, and we've had times that we've kept you in the deliberation room because we've been trying to sort through everything, trying to make this trial as efficient as possible, but also honoring and respecting all the hard work of the lawyers that's gone into preparing this trial. So sometimes I do understand that it's frustrating for you. But today we were able to spend some time this morning. I know we kept you in there almost half an hour, and we've just spent some time now. So I can tell you that we are ahead of schedule right now. I still need to talk to the lawyers about something tomorrow morning. So we're going to send you home now and have you come back tomorrow morning at 9:30, because today I know we kept you until 9:30, and it doesn't make any sense where I already know I need to talk to the lawyers tomorrow morning to have you here for a 9 o'clock start. So tomorrow will be a full day, and we'll have you here ready to start at 9:30. Okay, so those same cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And also, please continue to be careful with your social media use. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Rise to the jury.
So we're going to see if there's an argument made today, or if that's going to be, sort of saved till tomorrow. As far as the judgment of acquittal goes. Yeah, it looks like we've got a little more here. Jury's out.
All right, so Ms. Little, if you can get me whatever you're going to get me within the next hour, so that would be great. And I'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right, so Miss Little has a little homework to do. It sounds like judgment of acquittal was either done at sidebar or might be done tomorrow. Selena K says, the status of my injury is it's slowly healing. I'm probably going to have the surgery to fix my knee in August, but I won't be able to walk most likely until October. Selena, I'm sorry. That sounds terrible. Tomorrow begins the defense case. We got a little argument first thing in the morning, only about half an hour. That sounds like judgment of acquittal. Honestly, you're gonna get 15 minutes or so from Mr. Alessi, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Yannetti. I don't know who's gonna actually make that motion and argue that through, and then you're gonna have Mr. Brennan obviously respond. Usually they respond with more detail than is necessary, but it gives them an opportunity to sort of rehash the whole case. Which, if the jury was there, would be great. They're not. The jury's not going to hear either one of these. They'll hear similar arguments to what's made in this motion during closing. That they're going to hear that again. But on what's going to happen first thing tomorrow, if we hear judgment of acquittal, is the defense, Mr. Alessi, Mr. Yannetti, Mr. Jackson, I don't know who, will tell the judge all the reasons why the state has failed to meet their burden in this case, why the different elements of the charges have not been proven. As a matter of fact, they're going to say that they said nothing. They said nothing about some of these required elements, and as long as that element is left out and it is required, you cannot let the jury deliberate on that. It would not be fair, and I think they're going to try. I don't think they're going to try to get rid of the manslaughter one. That seems like like there's enough room to have that go to the jury. But I think they're going to focus on that second-degree murder and see if they can just get that removed from the table before the jury considers that. That's the only one they have a little chance on, and with the way the judge has been ruling, it's not looking good. I'll say that. It's not looking good. So a little of that in the morning, and then, of course, defense starts off. Who they start with, how they start, this will be amazing. Do they start calling hostile witnesses right away? Are we going to get Brian Albert, or the Brian's going to be on the stand? Are we going to get Mr. Proctor in court? Are we going to start with ARCA and go with our strong witnesses first? Who are they going to call? Will Karen Reed testify? She shouldn't. But that's also a question that's still out there, and that decision is made by Karen Reed alone. She's already made, I think, some poor decisions talking to the press. But the only way defense can bring in the rest of the statements for the videos the jurors have heard to put them in context is if Karen Reed herself takes the stand. There's no other way, unless, of course, you might get a reporter here and there where you might be able to do it. But even that, the statement of the defendant outside of court, it would be hearsay and not admissible for them to bring in themselves unless she takes the stand. So if they want to address all the video clips the jury's seen with all the different interviews, Karen has to take the stand. And that's a bad, bad idea. Let's see. We thought they would present stuff last time. They only had ARCA. If they put ARCA on first, the jury will definitely fall asleep in confusion. I don't know. I think ARCA has the benefit of being entertaining to listen to, and not in like a hostile way. Like, oh wow, this is a great fight, like what we got today with Mr. Alessi and Mr. Welch. Is it Welch? Welcher? I can't even remember his name anymore. Dr. W. ARCA is interesting to look at. Okay, first of all, they look good. That's why they call them the crash daddies, and they're entertaining to talk to. 7, member for 29 months, another OG. This trial makes me sick. FKR, I'm going on vacation to Jackson Hole. Who's with me? Thanks, Dwayne. Okay. Fun references there. Fun facts. Honeymoon, Jackson Hole. I just want the defense to open their case in chief with the Paul Harvey approach, and now the rest of the story. That would be epic. All right, for the rest of the day we have a break. We do have a podcast tonight that starts at 8:30. So I think we're going to go to lunch. We might come back with a little bit of court hopping or a little bit of analysis on the case if we think it over. I'm not sure which one we want to do, but the jury's going to go home and rest and get ready for hearing the other side. Let's see. Pat Hall says, ARCA, they're so sus. Signal, deleting text, major sus. Is it an actual hole? Jackson Hole is a city in Wyoming that it has preserved the western frontier feel, with like the wood board buildings out front, the metal roofs. Even though it's very similar to Vail, Colorado, when it comes to the wealth and price of land and things like that. It's a beautiful, rugged city that is right up there. It's not too far from Yellowstone. I mean, it's not terribly close, but it's beautiful. You got the Snake River up there, rugged, cold water, great fishing, pine trees, steep mountains, rocks, Tetons. It's all up there in the area. It's wonderful. It's well worth a visit if you haven't ever been. It's amazing. Thank you for all those who clicked the like button today. We are close. We're about 146 away from hitting the 1,000 mark, a little short of our goal. That's all right. Sherry M says, I definitely hope Karen Reed takes the stand. She would have to explain all those interviews she has done and all her changing stories. But in doing that, it would take some of the wind out of the prosecution's sails because they got to play them out of context. And if she takes the stand, they can play them in context. And on the whole, the video is better than the little parts that were played by the prosecution. So it might help a little bit. Avoid the zone of death in Yellowstone. I'm not sure what I can confess to, because I have done some fun stuff in Yellowstone. I'm not sure if all of it was legal. Some of the best times I've had in Yellowstone are far from a pathway or road and required swimming a river to go. There was no sign saying you couldn't do it. And so I've walked in fields. Okay, this was fun. I was walking in a field next to a river. We crossed over a river, and it was with a buddy of mine. We're hiking in a field, and off in the distance we see some coyotes. And the coyotes they're not wolves. I was positive. Coyotes, not wolves. And they're sort of looking at us and running around, and I'm not worried about a coyote attacking me, although the wildlife in Yellowstone is much more comfortable with people than in other parts of the world. And I say to my buddy, hey, watch this. And I make a little fist with my hand, and you do a little kissing motion on one of your fingers, and it does this little that sound, which sounds a lot like a very small animal in distress. And all I wanted to do was see that even that little noise from me, like 150 yards away, the coyote could hear, because they have excellent hearing. That thing turned on a dime and just like bolted like a streak of lightning straight for me. I'm like, that was not what I wanted. That was not what I wanted at all. So they, at about 20, 25 feet away, they stopped, and we're like, hey, you know. And they didn't like stop like, oh, there's a people, run away. It's like, yeah, but there's food. Where's the food? It was funny. As long as it's not the hot springs. No, it was not the hot spring area, but in walking in that field, we're walking along, and all of a sudden the ground became soft. And by ground, I'm talking about we're walking like waist-high grass. It's just a field. It's beautiful. It's early summer, and the ground became a cushion. Like, you could jump and it would send a wave through the grass. The whole field was floating on a bed of water. And I knew it wasn't a hot spring, because the hot spring has minerals that would have killed the grass and stuff above it. But crazy, crazy stuff. Like a peat bog. Yeah. Amazing beauty there. All right. My parrot is copying you. Sorry, it's making the mouse sounds. Let's see. Anything else we need to cover today before we wrap up for lunch, which is starting? It's 12 o'clock straight up right now. Right now. Well, at least when I said it was. I think that's everything. I think we're going to go to lunch. Let's just say that before I visited Yellowstone, it was called Whitestone. Adam. Ciao. Lois, thank you very much. Were there any rodents of unusual size? Lots of rodents up there. Lots of rodents. Buffalo, elk, bear, wolves, mule deer, coyotes. Just amazing wildlife up there. If you haven't been to Yellowstone, it's worth going before the whole thing erupts in a super volcano and kills us all. I don't know when that's going to happen. I wish I could tell you when it's safe, but one day Yellowstone will be gone, and most of us with it. So get up there while you can. All right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe till we go live again, hopefully this afternoon, with a little bit of court hopping, court watching. Might catch up on some of what Judge Middleton had this morning. It looked like he had a little bit of action in his courtroom as we wait for the Karen Reed trial to continue tomorrow morning, beginning, well, we're going to start a little bit early. Well, we're going to start the regular time. But jurors won't be in until about 9:30, meaning maybe a 10 o'clock start for them. And we'll have some argument before the judge, maybe a judgment of acquittal motion and a ruling on that as well. So at least he didn't try to pet a buffalo. Yes, I'm not that stupid. I know what a buffalo can do. The buffalo do like to come close to the cars, and when they do, keep your window up and just pray they don't lean into your car, because they can total that thing in a heartbeat. Full day tomorrow. Yes, will be a full day for sure. Thank you, mods. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Welsh lady. Thank you all. You guys be good to each other. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Oh, and the podcast tonight, too. Don't forget the podcast tonight, 8:30, right here. We'll be back this afternoon. We'll be back. Oh, that's terrible. Scratch all that. Where's my scratch all that button?
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize. I'm not going to argue about semantics here.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.
There's nothing in the order that restrains you from talking to cats.
Thank you. Because he's the guy.
I was told counsel wanted to see me at sidebar.
Shame on you, sir.